And we're live.
Hello, welcome back. It's David here with Sticky and Mark.
Hello, everyone.
There he is. Look at that. God, you're getting so good at that. Welcome back, everybody. We have a fantastic show today to share with all you wonderful people. Thanks for having us in your homes, your RVs, wherever you watch this. You can watch this anywhere now, huh? Isn't that fantastic? Modern technology, dude. You could be an astronaut. Can you imagine if the astronauts are actually plugged in to watching this? That's not a thing. Okay. First of all, I gotta say, I got this shirt finally. This is Into the AM. It's fantastic. You can't really see it. Here, let me move my mic. Can I move my mic away for a second?
Go ahead.
Without everybody okay. So they have these incredibly graphic shirts. This is an astronaut on a spade. I get a lot of compliments about this shirt, by the way, because fits me nice, dude. Fits me nice, and it's a highly graphic. Yeah, it's a fantastic shirt. So we have a link in the description, just so you know, they're the sponsor for today's episode. So there's a intotheam.com/CEG Dealers. And, of course, we are our own sponsor, ShopCasinoQuest.com. Sticky's been hard at work putting all of our crap on ShopCasinoQuest.com. So now we have our merch and everything is just right there. There's also a link on our CasinoQuest.biz. He's done a fantastic job. If you didn't already know, Dennis is our lead. Him and Mar have designed most of what you see here. Well, not those cards specifically, but all the logoed apparel, merchandise, that kind of thing. He's really done a fantastic job. All those logos. Yeah. So thank you, Sticky. Good job, buddy. We appreciate you. All right. So yeah, those logos are a little spicy because he's Mexican, so he gets a little spice in the logo a little bit, you know. All right. We also have so I have a few things here to show you guys before we get to the show. By the way, the show is named "You're Being Watched." We're gonna talk about surveillance. And Mark Mark's the guy. Mark's the trading manager.
Stuff, yeah.
No, it's good stuff,
yeah,
dude.
Absolutely.
It'll keep everybody very well entertained because we want to know who's watching, why they're watching, how they're watching. We're going to answer all those questions in this episode. It's going to be a deep, very probative episode.
Looking
very
forward to
memorable one. Okay. So here we got gold money. We have this. We're going to be this is our collectible Casino Quest chips, all of them, the whole series. So there's been 4 that we've minted completely, right? Is there any more than that? Just the 4?
I think it's just
a 4. We have the other ones too, the old school ones. But later on, we're going to be raising money for a legal fund. We're going to be offering that. But we're going to give away today, with 100 likes, we're going to give away $1 billion. Basically, we have these gold bills. These are the higher quality ones, by the way. So there are these gold bills out there that are lower quality, that are kind of like just papery and flimsy. These are on plastic. They're gold foil on plastic. And here is quite literally the $1 billion version. Oh no, this is the wrong one. This is 10,000. Yeah.
I think the billion's over here.
This is the billion. Yeah, in the frame. So 100 likes. We're gonna send this to a lucky winner. I don't think they can see that too well. Here, Sticky's gonna zoom in.
Really
zoom in, Sticky.
I'm just gonna move it.
All right. Oh, there you go. That's genius. There you go. And so it's what $1 billion might look like as a dollar or as a bill. Would only love to have one of those. Can you imagine? Can I get change, please? Just walk in and be like, yeah, could you break this down for me really quick? We go over to the Apple store. They're probably the only store around that can make change for We had Banana Republic coming over here the other day to get change. And luckily it was like, $100 because we'd have trouble with anything more than that. But anyways, all right. And we got these Vegas cards. All these gold foil cards are fantastic. And these big ass jumbo cards, if you really want to have fun. We think it's hilarious, by the way, because we teach people to shuffle. Good luck shuffling these. It's going to take some real skill. That's going to be an art. That could be a class in its own. And we have these jumbo cards. But anyways, okay. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great.
You doing good?
Doing great, yeah. Love all the merchandise here.
Well, we appreciate. Yeah, well, we gotta keep, keep
bit.
the lights on, dude. This isn't cheap, dude. Sticky costs us money, man. Not a lot of money, but some money. Okay, we gotta keep him in tacos. He's a Taco Bell aficionado. What do you think, dude? Taco Bell?
No,
On the
absolutely
way to,
not.
Olive
Do
Garden?
not, under any circumstance,
So-
bring me Taco Bell gift cards.
So just so we're clear, I had to take them all to eat the other day because Jet did such a fantastic job with the vlog and everything. So I had to take him out to eat. And we were going over kind of restaurants, and somehow my car directed us to the Olive Garden parking lot. It was a
nice.
it was a mysterious detour, but it was good. It was the one on East Flamingo. It was fantastic, right?
Yeah, it was great.
We enjoyed it. I mean, it's a hit or miss at Olive Garden. Sometimes it's fantastic. Sometimes it's like Denny's with pasta. You know what I mean? It's like,
Well, I don't remember the food.
you don't
I just
remember
remember
food?
the trivia game
Oh,
we played.
we won all the trivia. Dude, I'm. By the way, if you didn't already know, I'm pretty good on the trivia thing. I know a lot of random facts that don't make any sense. Sometimes I don't even know why I know. So I've beaten the Applebee one a few times, pretty much every time. And the Olive Garden one, we whacked every single one until the last one. Alex screwed us up. We would have won, but Alex got a wrong answer, and so we roll. It didn't go as well as we would have liked. But anyways, by the way, Alex has lost a lot of weight. Him and Timmy are flipping. Timmy's gaining, Alex is losing. They're gonna swap clothes here soon, just so you know. Alex is so excited. Hi, Alex. So should we say hello? Is there any of the regulars? Alan? Alan's out there. Derek's out there. Linda. Hi, guys. Sue. Nettie. I just flipped off everybody. I was trying to show the ring finger. Oh, God. That was terrible. Here we go. Demonetized. Sorry about that. But I got this fantastic ring. I wear it every day, or mostly every day. It's hard to deal with this ring, but I've got it on. And but anyways, thank you, everybody, for showing up. Hopefully, we get to see you soon. We have some holiday announcements coming up, probably the next show. So we're gonna be scheduling some meetups and play with you guys. Mostly Keno. Keno's the answer. Just so you know, Keno for the win. But we had a guy come in today asking for me to give him some pointers on Keno. My pointer is basically just sit down, put your money in, and get that finger working. That's all you need to know. The rest of it is
Pure luck.
Wait, come on now. It's
How
a
much
skill-based
How
game.
much strategy do we have in Keno, right?
I got a compounded strategy, sir. I'll work with
I
you
don't
later.
know about
I'll
that.
help to educate you. We have a hater, folks. We have a hater. But thank you guys all for showing up, being part of our fun here. Again, 100 likes. We're going to give away $1 billion in the frame. So you'll get the frame and the $1 billion note. So we'll start moving on that. Okay. So today we thought we would start with some news. And Mark's been in the business a very long time, so we add a lot of context. And there's quite a few new things going on in Vegas, especially now. I think the first big thing, and this is kind of off of my my little flow chart here, international travel is coming back soon. That's going to be a huge boon.
Which we desperately need for sure.
I mean, everybody's very excited about
Absolutely, yep.
that. We can't wait. Conventions then will be loaded up. The Strip especially, where we're located. Without international travel, we're about half.
Yeah.
I mean, the half the number of people we see here. Occupancy rates, by the way, at the hotels has been higher. And some of the wins at hotels has been literally off the charts.
The play is definitely coming back, that's for sure. We've seen that.
And with international travel, it'll put it over.
Right where we, exactly. Prior to COVID, exactly.
Yeah, so we're very excited about that. So we're going to kind of go over a couple things. You guys may have heard a few of these news articles, but we're going to add a little bit of context ourselves. So that one of the things is the Vegas Loop. Tesla is built out this loop that goes under resorts. Actually, it goes from the convention center to resorts. That's sort of the first depot. They made that available, and it's there right now. It's working right now, right? You can actually go from the convention center to resorts.
Almost there.
Almost there.
Yeah.
So it's almost finished.
Yeah.
Because I see the sign for it, and I see people literally taking pictures of the sign for the Tesla. A lot of Tesla fans out there. So Tesla just submitted a plan to put up over 50 stops, so covering literally all over the Strip, even onto West Trop, to include like where the Orleans is, and going down to the airport, which I think is genius. Should have had the monorail should have gone to the airport. That was a big miss. No.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was a lost opportunity there, but. I'm looking forward to. I think the Tesla thing will be fun.
It's gonna be huge. Yep.
I mean, I really do. I think people, because it's an exciting thing.
Another
in
experience.
Another experience
Exactly.
in itself.
Yep.
Not just getting on a monorail or train or a bus, but getting into a Tesla. A lot of us that don't have Teslas, or can't figure out how to plug them in, that kind of thing. Right, right. To Sticky. Sticky's laughing. Because I'm always asking, like, what do you do with this thing? We always see the cords. I'm very confused. You need someone like Dennis in the sidecar. They call him a sidecar. God. Anyways, so I'm very excited about the Vegas Loop. I really do. I think it's a win. I think we need that kind of transportation. It gets the traffic on the Strip, especially on the weekends, absurd. Dude.
Oh, bumper to bumper.
We've actually pulled right coming out of Fashion Show just to go to the Cosmo for an event, and it took us a half hour. I kid you not. It took us literally a half hour to get to Cosmo from here, and it's like a mile away.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I can get from the school to here 6 miles in 4 minutes. Just saying, I got this route figured out, dude. I mean, All right. The next thing is, so if you're unfamiliar with Vegas, there's sort of the north side of the Strip, Central Strip, and then we have the south side of the Strip, right? Technically, over the years, the south side has done really well. You got the Mirage, you got the MGM, you got the Trop, you got all these big properties, lots of rooms, lots of people. The north side and the Center Strip, of course. Center Strip's always been sort of the catalyst for everything else. Even the Casino Royale has kept busy.
Sure.
And that's the Center Strip property, just by default of being there, right?
Right.
Then you have north side, where we're all located. Fashion Show is sort of the beginning, I think, of the north side, I would say.
Yeah.
And then leading into, like, the Wynn is north side, Resorts is north side, leading to Sahara, and then much further down we have the Strat, of course. And they've been working on building out the north side. Because you've been in town how long?
I've been here since 06.
Okay, so you've seen it.
Yep.
The sort of the evolution. Now Resorts, Resorts is a big win. Has brought a lot of traffic down to the north side, right? The Wynn, of course, keeps its own traffic. I don't think those people leave the Wynn. I think once you go into the Wynn, you just go by shuttle or hit the airport and then you're out. Venetian is north side.
Venetian is north. Yeah, I think we're going to see more development up in the north too over the years, and once that happens, we're going to see a lot more traffic down there. You take Cosmopolitan, Bellagio, that area in there.
Yeah.
The foot traffic that goes through those places is unreal.
It's absurd,
and that's the thing. And to your point, the north end of the Strip there, that's where I think once we have more development up there, it's going to replicate what you see down in the Cosmopolitan area.
I agree 100%. So there's a few properties that are sort of left off the grid so far. So the property between Fashion Show and Resorts World is actually owned by the Wynn. It's about 30 some odd acres. It's right across from the Wynn. And they have yet, so when Steve Wynn was associated with that, he had plans to develop a few different things. And none of those, obviously, that didn't happen. Mm-hmm. Shortly after he even suggested his plans, he kind of had, a falling out with the world kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And had to retreat into his billionaire, homes and real estate, that kind of thing. And so nothing really took place. So that's just sort of sitting there. It's actually been used as sort of a landing zone for some of the equipment that Resorts use. So I think Resorts must have either, paid to use that, because I've seen a lot of the piping and stuff sort of set there,
still
right?
There. Yep.
Then you have, on the other side, you have the Fontainebleau, the Drew, whatever that fiasco is turned into now. That the Koch brothers, or I think there's only like one Koch brother left, but they own that property along with one of the original developers is back in the mix. But that, no one knows where that's going to go. And then the rest of it is Convention Center. And so the Convention Center took the Riviera. Do we miss the Riviera? I missed the Riviera. Do you remember the Riviera?
It was a gem, yeah.
Dude,
yep.
I used to have friends that worked there for the longest time. And if you guys don't know, so here's where some of David's stories comes in. Steve Sciarippa of Sopranos fame.
Okay, yeah, right.
Used to be the maitre d' there. He was the entertainment director. And I would go in there and see the shows. And I had a friend of mine that worked there in hospitality for many years. And he used to be there. If you wanted to see if you were on the VIP list, which, believe it or not, I got, because I knew lots of people in low places, that got me on those lists. Not because I had any money, but because I knew the guy that was just writing up the list. You follow?
Sure.
And Steve was just the nicest dude, man. By the way, he was much lighter. He got heavier for Sopranos. He didn't weigh quite so much. He was always the friendliest guy. You know what I mean? And then you didn't see him, and then all of a sudden he shows up on The Sopranos.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Right, wow.
But it was a fantastic. They used to have Lacage, Crazy Girls. They had a comedy night there. A number of Splash. Those of you who remember Splash.
I remember Splash, yeah.
You do
yeah,
remember it?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
And Splash 2.
Yeah.
They had Splash 2. And you could sit in the front. You had to wear a raincoat because you quite literally would get splashed kind of thing. Man, dude, I missed the Riviera. It was a lot of fun. I saw Geechee Guy there. Remember, you don't know Geechee Guy.
Know Geechee
America's
Guy, no.
Got Talent, Geechee Guy winner. And Carrot Top was there for a while.
Carrot Top, yeah, sure.
I think he was another, not America's Got Talent, a Star Search. Geechee Guy was a Star Search winner.
Oh, okay.
I'm getting old.
See,
dude.
I'm not familiar.
You're not up on Star Search winners?
No,
What's the
no.
matter with you? That's going to be the next trivia question. That's
I'm
why
gonna fail that one miserably.
That's why I win these trivia games, because I know all this random crap. But anyways, Mr. Riviera. So they obviously got rid of the Riviera. They built the convention center, but they didn't take up the whole space. So where the actual casino was, there's still a plot of land about I don't know, about 10, 20 acres, and it was just sold to a company for $120 million. And they sort of had plans. They're like, yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it, kind of thing. But still lots of different properties to build out, to move forward.
Absolutely. You got, like you say, the Fontainebleau there, and of course, if they do develop that, that was a frontier there, just across from the Wynn. That was a frontier at one time.
No, the Fontainebleau where the Drew is?
No, the Fontainebleau is across
Across where the frontier would have been.
Right.
Yeah.
But that lot across from the Wynn, that was.
Oh,
the
that was
yes,
100%. That was the frontier. Yeah.
They wanted to do a boutique hotel there. The last I knew, it was like a boutique type of casino, but
there's been a lot of suggestions, but yeah, the frontier. Ooh, the Alardes, dude. I went and actually auditioned there.
Yeah.
Years and years ago. I failed. They wanted me to pay color for color. It happened to be a 4 or 10 was the winning point. I got there and auditioned, and the guy's like, all these people have stacked up reds. There's reds everywhere on this table, right? And I have a green stack. I'm working a green stack when I get up on this side. And it's a winner 4 or 10, I forget what it is. But there's people with like 30 and 60 odds and 10 with 20 odds. And they literally... All red.
And you got to size and twice all that.
Color for color, he told
wow.
me. That's how I failed the audition. I did not pay it color for color. I looked at the boxman and I was like, dude, you must be crazy, man. I didn't say that. I might have said that, actually. But I don't think I said that. And they're like, yeah, kid, you need some more work. Work? Who pays color for color?
Right,
30 and 60 odds.
Exactly, right.
You got to
right.
size into it twice. It makes no sense.
Yep.
Those little bastards. They were crazy, man. They own the Casino Royale still. Whichever one of the Alardes is still around. They don't like me. That's okay. I don't like them either. Okay. Next up, we got, what else? We got some news, more news. We're going down the list. No more Marriott. Marriott pulled out of the Fontainebleau.
Fontainebleau, that's right, yes.
Would have been the first Marriott on the Strip. Yeah, look at this. This is, I don't know who came up with this graphic, but Vital Vegas. I got this from his thing, by the way. We got to meet that guy, dude. I swear. We were supposed to meet him, and he's such a great writer. I just love everyone loves his blog. He has a podcast as well. He's just a fantastically funny individual. But look at this thing. Some shit show this has been, huh? I mean, look at this. They got 70% of this property done.
Yep.
Couldn't get it finished, and because it went into bankruptcy, basically. Mm-hmm. The original Fontainebleau developer loses it. It's taken over by some other dude. It's renamed the Drew. They can't get it finished, and then now it's reverting back to Fontainebleau. Then they had Marriott. I mean, it's just a mess.
Marriott's out, yeah.
And then
Who
the
knows what's
piping.
next?
I heard a rumor that they bought the property, and for some reason they didn't check the pipes, and of course a bunch of homeless people got into this thing, and they've been using the facilities, which doesn't work well when the pipes are not working so well. And that's what's been costing all the extra time. Although that could be just nonsense. So who knows? I mean, it really has been. We got Sticky coming in. We have technical issues. All right.
Don't ever interrupt unless I tell you to.
Oh, well, there you go. You heard it here, guys. Okay.
Well, they didn't hear it.
Look at that. And he flipped me off on the way back to his desk. That's fantastic. Good job, buddy. No, we love Sticky most of the time. All right, so. The other really big news before we get to our surveillance secret show is that the Palms is now back in play. The San Manuel has announced that the Palms is coming back online, probably the middle of next year. And boy, we love this casino operator. Do you know the caveat of the whole story? Like, it's a great story about how they're going to build out the property and they're going to have a rooftop pool and all these wonderful things. But the biggest thing is, you know what they're going to work on first? They're getting their designers and the construction. The first thing they're going to do is build out the employee section. Add an EDR, accommodate, parking, access. The first thing they're going to do is make this property very employee friendly. Can you imagine?
Great place to work. That's thinking of the employees first. Wow.
I mean, literally,
Very nice.
the first thing they're going to do, they're not going to work on any other part of the casino until they get all the employee areas squared away. I mean, not a lot of casinos go to that because casinos have been looking at ways to save money. There are casinos now that are opening without an EDR,
right?
Or they have a sandwich machine. They don't necessarily have regular break rooms. You know, when I was a casino dealer, there was a casino dealer break room. There was EDR's employee dining room. When I worked at the Rio, Marnell had fantastic food for EDR. I mean, you could order, they had chefs. You could order hamburgers and chicken sandwich. I mean, a whole bunch of stuff. They had the seafood buffet. You didn't get too much of the seafood buffet, but they had the Carnival World Buffet.
Oh, that place.
You remember that?
Oh, legendary.
And they would bring that down to the employees. We ate that in our EDR. And you see what I'm saying? I mean, it was a wonderful thing.
Yep.
Dude, Marnell was all about the employees. It was a fantastic place to work. And San Manuel is quite literally hands down, and not to take away from, there's a lot of, the one thing about the casino business is casinos do, for the most part, do well by their employees. There's some great benefits. I talked to a father and mother who have called and asked questions. That they're sending their son here from Washington State. And interestingly, I got an email from the son first, and then the father calls me. If your guys are out there, say hello. I won't mention your names, but we had the conversation about, well, what kind of long-term career, what kind of benefits does this kind of career offer? And for the most part, it offers a lot more benefits than you get in most other careers. You know what I mean? You're a casino executive. I mean, the perks are nice for the most part.
Yep.
You get medical benefits and vision, and you have 401k and retirement. I mean, there's lots of industries that don't have like a full suite of benefits, right? But in the gaming business, you get it's quite a bit.
They do take care of you for sure.
Yeah. So San Manuel, among those, is known as one of the best operators in this space. Well, easily, like hands down.
Yep.
I've never heard a single complaint. I've only ever heard very, very positive things. So we can't wait until they get here. Really, I think it's gonna be a game changer. Can you imagine? So let's say if back in the day, you had Marnell, operator of the Rio, and when you wanted to attract the best talent, you provided the best benefits. You provided the best workplace, right?
Sure.
Because that's part and parcel to the experience. I think this is going to be a return to that. They're going to up the ante, and employees are going to want to work there regardless of tokes, because they're going to want to tap into that kind of sort of employee benefit buffet.
Makes sense.
Right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
I really
I'm sure
think
the Tokes probably be good there too.
No, I think it's going to be a fantastic job. They're going to feed into all their Southern California people.
Yep.
They're well-known operators, so I think they're going to do really well.
Yep.
I really look forward to them coming out here. Okay, so I guess now we can get to surveillance secrets. We're going to kind of go down a list.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you questions, sir.
Okay.
This is like literally the guy, just so you know. One of the guys. The other guy is Fred Flintstone. No, just kidding. All right. All right, we got Sticky coming back in case we run into technical difficulties. He retreated for a second. A bathroom break, sir? Let's put it out there. Do you have gas?
Not like you.
Oh,
not
he's
like you.
Not like me. Oh, my God, little bastard. Is Timmy here? Did Timmy make it? Did that little bastard get here? Because he owes everybody a class, my class. Timmy, where you at, buddy? He's supposed to be here at 5, so he's not here because we're after 5. Unless we're super late. All right. So let's here's the big question is, when I was a dealer many moons ago, the surveillance was, the cameras, the capabilities of surveillance was somewhat limited.
For sure.
In fact, we teach dealers a lot of mechanics and game protection things that sort of play into that. So, for example, sizing checks. The cameras couldn't see much detail. All they could see was this stack equals this stack, and your finger went over it, and wham, those were equal stacks, right? Now we have a lot more technologies. We have RFID. We have all this artificial intelligence. Google apparently is tracking every step I make and all the things I eat during the day. You follow?
For sure.
So can you describe what's a big upgrade from then to now? Like what can surveillance see?
Back in the day, you heard of the catwalks. You have the mirrored ceilings
Oh,
and people
yeah.
actually walking over these catwalks with binoculars, taking a look at the games, right?
Yep.
it's obviously progressed since then. And, the cameras have gotten better throughout the years. You can get 4K cameras now. They are more expensive, but they are worth it. The thing with 4K is, though, of course, it takes up a lot of space. So you have to have, a large a disk drive in order to capture all that, right?
Right.
But with the 4K, you can, you take a zoomed out photo, and when you zoom into that, it doesn't pixelate like a lot of the other low resolution cameras, right? So as far as you can take an overhead shot, and to your point, is that 4 checks, is it 5 checks, is it 6 checks? You don't know. It's always important that if you have a table over here, you'll have a camera at the other side
with the
pointed
best
down, right?
Yeah.
So you can actually see the depth of those checks. When you take a look at that ceiling with all the bubbles, right? Of course, you have a bubble right over the game. You can always see that game. It's a fixed shot. But there's a bubble way over there that's actually on that game from afar that is zoomed way in to see all of the bets, right? So, and then it's so important because the floor calls up and says, how much was that bet or whatnot. We can actually see what all those bets were. Was it 4 checks high? Was it 5 checks high?
Right.
And then we know exactly what to tell the floor. And then, of course, this is very important too. The role of surveillance, the role of the floor. When the floor calls up and says, I have a dispute on a game or whatnot, it's up to surveillance to review the video twice, 2 people. One person reviews it. They have an answer. The second person seconds it and gets their answer. They compare.
Okay.
Sometimes you could have 2 different answers. If you have 2 different answers, we got to look at it again, right? If you only have one person do it, then they make the wrong call, and the surveillance calls on and says, this is what I found. It could be the wrong call. That's why it's so important to have 2 people, 2 independent people, take a look at that video to see what each other sees. And if they see the same thing, then that would be the answer. So sure enough, surveillance will say, this is what we find. It is not up to surveillance to make the decision. It is up to surveillance to observe and report.
Okay.
What the supervisor, what the manager does with that information is up to them. They say, we're going to pay the guest, we're not going to pay the guest. That is up to table games, that's up to casino operations. But surveillance will just say, this is what we saw, and that's it. Now, they will make the decision. They might not pay the guest, they may pay the guest, right? That's up to casino operations. But casino operations needs to let surveillance know what they are going to do, so that can go into the report to say, according to casino operations, they are going to pay the guests for customer relations or whatnot. So it closes out the report. It basically closes that loop. But as far as camera capabilities today, you're looking at 4K. And these are crystal clear. I mean, you can see everything with these 4K cameras. So
yeah. Okay, so what? Okay, so yeah, you threw me off of that. Very good. All right.
I have a really quick question.
Yes,
Sure.
go.
How many checks can they see? Is there a point where it's just too many?
no. The way the cameras are set up, even if it's very tall, they'll be able to see all of that. And now it also depends on how far it's zoomed in. But the other thing too is we're not going to zoom in so close that we can only see 4 high. It's zoomed in to a point where you can see all the betting spots. But even when it's zoomed in, if you need to run back the video and you need to pause it and you need to zoom in even further with those 4K cameras, you can actually count those checks one by one. I mean, you can actually take your pen, put it on the screen into 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to how many checks it was, and you'll know exactly how big that bet was.
So here's a question. How about audio?
Audio, you're not going to have them on the games, and I wish
No audio.
no audio on the games. Unfortunately, you take a craps game. It's a verbal game all day long.
It is a verbal game,
right? But imagine this though. Imagine being in a surveillance room and you've got 8 craps games all mic'd. Right?
Oh, that'd be a bit confusing.
How are you going to boil that down?
Yeah,
but then, yeah, it's really tough. It would help though, so we know what is booked and what is not booked. But the other thing you have to think about is this: if you mic a craps game, you're going to have some signage on that craps game saying you are under audio surveillance.
Right.
So that way, the guest knows they know they're under video surveillance.
Right.
But they have to know if they're mic'd. If you ever get detained and you go into detainment, there is a sign on the door that says this is under video and audio surveillance. So when you're there, everything you say is being recorded, audio, and then the video. So you have to have that signage there. If you were to mic these games, you would have to let the guests know that they are under audio surveillance.
So I know that in all the gaming jurisdictions, right, you're required to have a certain level of surveillance. So
For sure.
it's part of the build out with the casino. This many
Correct.
games, this many cameras, that kind of thing. Is is the level of surveillance, the quality of the cameras, the quality of the gear, is that also dictated, or is that?
That is.
Oh, really?
That is. It's actually Regulation 5 here in Nevada,
Wow.
and that is
There we go.
our surveillance standards.
Yeah.
And they will tell you how many frames per second, which is 30 frames per second. It has to be set at least that. Anything underneath that, you're not at regulation.
Wow,
so
very
they will
interesting.
go through and they will tell you exactly what the frames per second need to be.
Right.
Before you open your property, the gaming control board comes in and they do a full inspection of your entire system.
Yeah.
If it does not pass that inspection, then you cannot open the doors.
Yeah.
It has to pass that inspection, and they will come periodically too to do their audits of the surveillance system. It has to be up to par. If you're not at that 30 frames per second, if you're not at regulation, then of course you need to make those adjustments.
You know, interestingly, when I never knew that was a thing until a friend of mine actually hired me out to Players in Lake Charles. He was a surveillance director. He was director of surveillance. I knew him from the Fitz, which is now the D downtown, and I got to be. I didn't know he worked in surveillance. I actually met him like randomly outside of work one time, and then I had no idea he was director until he offered me this job to come out to Louisiana. It wasn't until I got to the Bell that I found, because I was really part of the opening management team at the Bell, that I discovered or that I learned that the surveillance part of it is dictated. You know, like how many cameras, what viewpoints, you know, all these things.
That's also here. I mean, you take a table, right?
Right.
That entire table has to be under view 24/7. It tells you that every single bet spot has to be covered.
Right.
The entire rim of the table has to be covered. If you have progressives and so forth, let's say, for example, I have a progressive on a table, that progressive meter has to be under 24/7 surveillance as well. All of these are dictated within the regulation of what exactly has to be covered on that game.
Interesting. Yeah, very interesting. I know that the technology is evolving very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in terms of surveillance and cameras. I mean, even here, even the kinds of cameras we can use, like our phones and this kind of thing. So how much does, in terms of capabilities, is artificial intelligence part of that equation at all? You don't have to give me anything specific, but are they, we actually know of a software provider that uses AI with regards to watching bets, tracking bets on the game, and using software tracking, and most of it is specific to player activity, not to surveillance activity. You follow? It's used to really sort of track. And I had a conversation with this individual. So some casinos, or I think people in general, are a little bit nervous about having how much AI you can use inside of a setting like this at that level, at the surveillance level. You know, it's one thing to track the checks that a player is using because they want to be rated, and you want to know how much they're in, how much they're out, that kind of thing. But once you get into like tracking your movements and, you know what I mean, tracking other things, it gets a little intrusive, no?
That does play a role, and I will say that you need to have a certain level of intelligence in order to run a surveillance department. Let's think about this. Let's say, for example, we were to open up a casino, no intelligence whatsoever. You sit down your operators and say, watch the floor.
Yeah.
What am I watching? You know, I mean, you have restaurants, you have point of sales, you have the games, you have the slots, you have all this stuff. What do I even watch? With artificial intelligence, you have to use data. It's data-driven. Every surveillance department should have an analyst. And what happens is you get millions of points of data, and you translate that into information. As the old saying goes, we're drowning in data, but we're starving for information. What you need to do is you need to take that data, and you need to figure out what are the anomalies, right? What just doesn't make sense.
Yep.
Imagine this for a second, David, right?
Yep.
You have a player that comes in, cashes in $100, plays for 5 minutes, and plays a $10 average and wins $50,000. That's impossible, right?
Yeah.
And as surveillance, if I see this rating and I see in $100, $10 average, 5 minutes, win $50,000, I need to drill into that. Why are we? It just doesn't make sense, right? And you take this data that doesn't make sense, and then you start drilling into it to say, aha, this is what happened. When the supervisor closed out that rating, they fat-fingered the 500 or 50 or whatever into 50,000, and it was just a mistake. Or was it something where fraud was involved, right? So that's why you take these anomalies, these statistical outliers, if you want to call them, and say, doesn't make sense, look into it. Doesn't make sense, look into it. And that there really focuses what you should be looking at. Because when you take a look at the floor, yes, we do take a look at the floor. We are monitoring the games, basically around the clock. We are looking at everything. But If you don't take a look at what doesn't make sense, then how are we ever going to find out if we're being stolen from or whatnot, right? If you have a game that is consistently losing month over month over month over month, but a like game is winning. For example, you have 4 Ultimate Texas Hold'em games, right? One is a consistent loser for an entire 6 months, but every other game is winning. That doesn't make sense. We have to look at that one game and figure out what happened. Why are we losing so much? Oh, they hit a royal flush. Okay, well, that answers the question. At least we go in and say, that's why we're losing, right? But you take a look at the drop. You take a look at all of the wins. Are the dealers dumping the game? They might be. You never know. You take a look at dealer and player relationships. Do you have the same player playing with the same dealer over and over and over again? Is it a coincidence? Maybe, maybe not. Is there something going on there? Those are the things you really want to take a look at. So when you talk about artificial intelligence, you're taking a look at what doesn't make sense. When you take a look at all of the data, what are all the statistical outliers? And then we drill into that. And from there, you find out what's going on.
I mean, do they have software in use now that helps them find those outliers? I mean, is that part of
You use the
surveillance?
existing systems, and you use an analyst to find that data.
Yeah,
exactly.
Interesting. It's a fantastic. I know there's actually, just so we're clear, today we're going over all the things we can talk about. There are some areas of surveillance that are kept to surveillance. So we're going to give you guys a skinny for the end user, all the stuff that we find is sort of most exciting and most in play. But okay, here we go. You ready? So let's do this. When you first enter a casino, what happens? They take your picture? They say hello?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
No, they're not going to take your picture. I mean, some casinos have gotten to that point where they do put systems in place to do that. But oftentimes you will have some operators taking a look at the entrances and exits and so forth. And like we were talking about last week, you get an excluded person that enters through the door, we're going to be on
Are they
that.
going to pick up on that? If you're an excluded person, if you're on the blacklist,
Yep.
are they going to find you? Not every casino, right?
Not every
There are some
time.
casinos that you can go walk through and they won't notice you until maybe you've walked through it, right?
That's
but
correct.
there are a few that you walk in that they'll light you up.
They will. Now, there are some systems out there that can be used. Some of them are better than others as far as technology is concerned. But I will say that if you have a really good staff, in place, they know these faces. You definitely put all of the bad people on
Right.
these faces, and they get to really know what these faces look like. Thing is when you're on the front line, you're scanning the floor. You're scanning the walkways, right? You look at this, right? You get an excluded person. They're going to come in with a hat down here. They're going to come in with a hood, all this stuff. They don't want to get caught. They're not going to come in on graveyard. Why? Because it's slow, and they're going to get picked up like that. They're going to come in on swing shift. So when you're on swing shift and when it's really busy, we want to watch those walkways, watch the entrances, watch all these areas. And when you see somebody, oh boy, they look familiar. Now we need to zoom that in, zoom it in, zoom it in. As soon as we can confirm and really confirm that this is the person, then we contact security to take care of it.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of different stories about what technologies are in play. I think for the most part, if you're just going in there to do your thing, like, no one cares.
Right.
You're not being followed.
Right.
No one's recording. I mean, they're always recording,
Yep.
right? By the way, just as a point of fact, so what do they keep? 30 days? 24 hours?
Depends on the area.
Oh.
Right? For different areas, you are required to, by regulation, to keep it a certain amount of days. For example, if you were to take up a private gaming area, that would be a certain number of days, versus a detention area where you detain somebody different. Slots, table games different. So there's different thresholds of how many days you have to keep that video.
Very interesting. Okay, you ready? Do we have any questions out there?
We do,
have?
actually.
Okay.
We have a couple. So someone asked an interesting question. They said, I saw a video showing roulette has many cheats. Is that true?
Roulette, yes. Actually, all the games can have many cheats, right? So the biggest thing with roulette you really got to watch for is the bet capping. And that's the thing. A lot of times when the dealer is not stepping back, when the dealer deals roulette, right, you're always taught this. You wave off and you step back and you look at that layout, right? And you never take your eyes off that layout. If you look into the wheel and you're watching that ball go into the wheel, you're doing it wrong, right? And those players are going to cheat you. The columns are the most cheated bet out there, right? Because they're farthest from the dealer's view. right? The dealer only has a certain peripheral vision, and that's the easiest one to cap. And roulette, yes, you can bet cap that, pass post that all day long, especially if you have a dealer that is not on their game.
Yeah. And those dealers are tested. We talked about that the last
Absolutely.
time.
Follow procedure, follow procedure, follow procedure.
Yeah. Game protection.
100%.
What else you got?
This is a little unrelated, but someone asked, is there a maximum dealer bet that on a win tip? I heard there was. So basically, they're trying to ask, how much can a dealer win?
It depends on the casino.
It does, and there's a standard out there. Usually, the casinos do. Like, for example, if you have a $1,000 max, right? If the player is playing $1,000, the max that the player can bet for the dealers is usually 10% over. But again, to your point, David, it could be 5%, it could be 20%. Depends on the house. But usually, as a general rule, about 10% over. So if the maximum on your table is $1,000, they can go up to $100 for the dealers at that point.
The next question is, so is every game in the casino watched, slots and everything?
Everything is watched, yes. Everything is under the eye. Slots, table games, everything has to have a camera on it. Absolutely.
Wow.
Every square inch.
Yeah, every square inch. Even the closet, the water closet. We had that. Those police officers did not know there was a camera in the closet.
Everything.
So
And,
Allison, who's been a member for 4 months, says,
Fantastic.
what about facial prosthetics?
Facial prosthetics. So they've had a facial makeover. Is that what I'm getting at? Or
Yeah, they've
okay.
tried to change it. If you're on the blacklist and you decide to get some serious plastic surgery or just put some prosthetics.
It certainly, that's a great question. It certainly makes it more difficult, okay? But I will say this, that if somebody does have facial prosthetics and they are found to be that person, that photo is updated, and most of all of the surveillance departments know who the new person is, if you will.
I mean, so some of the prosthetics are quite literally amazing. I've
sure.
seen some of these makeovers that's truly, I can't imagine the AI picking up on that. And you could probably get away with a few hands. But security is also trained to check for IDs and validate IDs. You'd have to come with a lot of fake. It would have to be quite the act, so to speak.
But the other thing, too, is when you take a look at facial prosthetics, here's the thing. People have certain characteristics to their makeup that don't change. Their ears don't change, right? Maybe the width of their eyes, or the width of their nose, or things like that, and all that could be changed with the prosthetics. But there's certain characteristics. If you take a look at somebody's ear, for example, right? You take a look at their picture before and after, and everybody's ears are different. You take a look at that ear, and it really looks like it's the same ear, and then their face resembles. We can, you can take different characteristics that cannot change through the prosthetics, and you can identify them that way too.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, no, 100%.
2 questions for them.
Go ahead.
Are there ways besides changing the bets around to catch a card counter, or even a team? And 2, is there a software used to log/watch the outcome of an ongoing game?
Okay, yes, so card counters, this is great. Now for surveillance, this is going to be something we really need to know.
Yeah.
So when you're on the floor, there's certain red flags you look for. Yes, if the bets are going up and down. Look, with card counting, there's two strategies. The betting strategy and the play strategy. When we talk about betting strategy, when that deck is rich in high cards, you're raising your bet, right? When that deck is rich in low cards, you're lowering your bet. So if you're raising your bet when it's rich and you're lowering it when it's small, then we can verify that your play strategy does align with a card counter. Now, if you take a look at the betting strategy aligns with a card counter. If you take a look at play strategy, a card counter usually plays basic strategy, but there's something we call the critical index, and the critical index is when you should deviate from basic strategy based on that true count. So you take a look at somebody who would ever split a 20. Nobody's going to split a 20, right? But a card counter will split a 20 against a 5 if the true count is a +5 or greater. So if you take somebody playing perfect basic strategy and they split a 20 on a +5 or greater, that's the critical index, then it would say, they might be counting cards, right? Or you get somebody who never takes insurance, but they do take insurance when the count is +3 or greater. That's a play strategy. So you combine that play strategy with that betting strategy, and then you figure out if they're counting cards, right? There is software that is used out there that will mathematically analyze the play. It will tell you how good their basic strategy is. It will tell you what the house advantage is. And you actually plug in card by card by card and their bet, what they're betting. And this software will tell you, are they a card counter, yes or not, yes or no? Are they tracking aces? Are they a shuffle tracker? It goes through everything. It actually analyzes the play from A to Z, and it will tell you if the house still has an advantage or if that advantage has been flipped. And if that advantage has been flipped, that would be enough evidence to back that player off and say no more blackjack for you.
How many floor supervisors or pit managers you think has this information?
Not many.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Unfortunately, David, okay, training in the industry, we need a lot of it. We need a lot of it, okay? You can say to somebody, go ahead and watch for a card counter, right? And what are you really looking for is, if you promote somebody from a dealer to a floor supervisor, are they counting cards? And oftentimes, to their defense, they're going to say, no, I don't know if they're counting cards because I've never been trained what to look for.
That's right.
And there's certain red flags you look for. If somebody's just spreading their bets, are they counting cards? Maybe, maybe not, right? You have to know if they're spreading their bets at the right time, if they're flat betting in a negative, if they're betting high in a positive. You have to really, do your homework on it. And how much are they spreading? Are they spreading 4 units? Are they spreading 20 units? Are they just random bettors? Are they a win progression? Are they a loss progression? Those things, you really need to look at the play critically in order to make that decision. Here's the thing. You don't want to make a wrong call and have somebody who's a random bettor spreading their bets all over the map that has nothing to do with the count, and then we go in and say, oh, David, you can't play blackjack anymore. Why not? Well, because you're spreading your bets. Well, you're not a card. I'm actually backing off good play. You could be you could be a horrible player, and we're going to make a ton of money off you.
I was the horrible player they backed off with the horseshoe. They accused me of card counting because they didn't know what to look for.
And right there, you could have been a profitable player for that casino. Well, we only want to back off unprofitable players.
I mean, all I was doing was chasing 7 wins. They told me, they backed me off, told me I was card counting. That's impossible. If you know me, you know that's not true.
The whole thing, though, David, is do you actually take that play? Do you run it through the software program? 100 rounds. You have to have a certain criteria that has to be met. Run it through the system, and then really analyze it mathematically.
How many casinos have this software, do you think?
Most,
really?
I would think, do, yes.
They use this software on a real basis? Wow, that's interesting. Holy crap, I've been out of the mix. Well, I do know this. I do know that a lot of, I would say the vast majority of supervisors at any level do not know how to spot a card counter, or couldn't have that conversation that you just had. Critical index or what to look for at splitting 20. I mean, this is the first time I've heard it. Yep. And I've been involved, I've been in the business for 30 years. You follow? Like, I know that's the thing. And I know that they're, a lot of times it's just, they're sweating the money and the action changes, and that's where they react. Right? And like you said, I mean, they could be backing off a good player.
Something like this, David. You just take a look at this, right? You watch the cards coming out of the shoe, okay? Bunch of low cards came out, a ton of low cards came out. And all of a sudden, the player starts increasing their bet. High cards are coming.
Right.
So they know something, right? Right there, that's the basics of card counting. If that player knows that there's high cards coming, they are going to bet high. Right there, they are spreading their bets, and it is aligning with the count. But then you have to ask yourself, what do they do when all the high cards come out and it's all do they bet, flat bet, and a negative? If those two criteria are yes and yes, okay, now I think they're we call them a skilled player. At that point, but how skilled are they? Right.
They're trying to be an advantage player.
Exactly.
But those types of plays. So there's a big difference between what I have called a soft counter, someone who's just following. I mean, listen, you sit there, you have a face-up shoe, and you can count it out. And yes, you start raising your bet, you're winning. Let's just say. I mean, it's sort of the natural progression of things. You follow? And I've always told people that have sort of plugged in, with me, that most casinos are okay with that, as long as you're not. It's not some crazy deviation. You're just playing along with the table. No.
You bring up a good point. So there's a certain thing we use, and this is this person's winning a bunch of money. Let's run them down. So now we put them into the software program. We're borderline. Okay, watch list. We're not going to back them off. We're going to put them on the watch list, right?
Right.
The next time they come in, we're going to run them down again. We're going to run them down again until we get a hard, yes, this is a card counter, then we back them off. But oftentimes, we might have those soft counters that you call them and put them on a watch list and say, you know what, we're not quite ready to pull the plug yet. Let's watch them a little bit more. And when we have enough evidence to say, okay, enough is enough, then we pull the plug.
Here's an interesting thing. I'm going to do this question, although we're a little bit off topic, but so we have a friend of ours, Kelly's son, who I think you've probably heard of, maybe.
No.
Her and Phil Ivey won a ton of money.
Okay, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes.
Now, and, she acknowledges that this was, part of the play, and they feel like, they caught an anomaly, and they used it to their advantage, right? They don't feel like it's the same thing with card counting. Card counting technically is not illegal. You're just following the count of the cards, and then you play, you take advantage of it, become an advantage player, right? How come she was able to play so long and win so much flipping money before they just said, listen, enough is enough? I mean, she'd walk into a casino and clean them out.
Well, the thing is, though, do we know what sort play is at the time?
Yeah.
We might not even know that the diamonds on the backs of the cards are inconsistent, right? At the time. But then after we figure it out and say, wow, they're actually smarter than us because they found out that the diamonds were off and we didn't know it. But then when you figure that out, it's never going to happen again because we all learned from it, right?
You would think so.
So, that's the thing is, at some point, okay, surveillance has to look at this and say, why are we losing $1 million on this play, right? Here's the thing.
$10 million in some cases.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you get big hits in any game, right, whether it be blackjack, whether it be baccarat, whether it be anything, surveillance is going to run on that entire play. You're going to watch those cards come from the closet to the game. Make sure nothing funny is going on with those cards. The cellophane is ripped at the table. Everything is on the up and up. You go through, it's a checklist, point by point by point, to make sure that, yes, we lost $1 million and it was on the square, okay? But if we lost $1 million and it wasn't on the square, now we have to say why did we lose it? Well, we got cheated, and how did we get cheated, or things like that. And in this case, by playing the sorts, they beat us at our own game. We have procedures in place where we were asked to change our procedures for them, right? In the interest of customer service, we bend over backwards, and in that case, we broke our back, right? And in that case, took advantage, right? From there, we adopt procedures to combat that. Now, when you put 8 decks or 6 decks of cards into a shuffler, you do a box turn on the right stack, and then you stack it up. Well, here's the thing. When people ask, that's kind of silly. I take 6 decks, I break it in half, and then I got to turn this. Why am I turning it?
We get asked that a lot, by the way, from dealers.
And you're turning it to combat sort play. Well, what is sort play? This is what sort play is. And when you go through the Phil Ivey thing, right? When you go through that and say, this is exactly what happened. Wow, now it makes sense. You're taking those diamonds, you're turning it, and then when it goes through the shuffler, everything is all mixed up, right?
Hopefully.
So, and that's where we take these scenarios. All of our procedures that we have is a result of us being taken advantage of or cheated, right? We do the turn to combat the sorts.
We learn from those mistakes.
We learn from those mistakes. Exactly.
Interestingly, a lot of these casinos, especially when they would basically walk across the street to a casino not in that network that was unfamiliar with their play, and they were able to keep playing.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a stunning thing. I mean, especially in this day and age with all the technology, all the capabilities. I mean, the phone, how about that? New tech, the phone. It's so surprising. By the way, she's a fantastic individual. She's brilliant.
Yep.
I mean, and just, to have that experience and have heard her stories is really amazing.
For sure.
But okay, so let's get to the monitoring games. I mean, we've added to this. Do we have? Well, first, any more questions?
A couple questions.
Oh my God, this is gonna be
short question is bubble craps rigged?
Bubble craps. You want to? We talked to a developer the other day, and he swore to us that it's RNG. At least the software they were developing. So there's 2 different frames of thoughts on the slot world, right? Where everything is preordained. Right, the microprocessor creates a curve of wins and losses so that the casino can keep their win. You follow? Like, okay, so out of this $1,000, our take is going to be $10, $100,
Correct.
900. We're going to give away on this curve. We have one big winner, a few little ones, and then a lot of losers, right? We talked to a software at G2E, told us that Bubble Crafts and the software they were running was complete RNG. Not built on a curve at all.
Okay, so when you talk about an RNG, all of this here has to go through testing. It goes through GLI.
Right.
GLI signs off on it. Goes to the Gaming Control Board for the technology division. They sign off on it. Once it gets through all that, then it's approved for the floor. But one thing you have to keep in mind with RNGs are not completely random. Okay? RNGs...
my brain just went poof.
Over time will have repeats, unfortunately.
Really?
Okay,
Holy crap.
there is an RNG out
Pai?
there called a cryptographic RNG. What a cryptographic RNG is an RNG within an RNG, and those are completely random. The problem with cryptographic RNGs is they're very, very expensive, so therefore they don't put them. If you were to outfit your entire slot floor with cryptographic RNGs, it's going to be very, very expensive, right? RNGs alone are random enough to be accepted and to be approved by the GCB for gaming purposes, right?
Gaming.
But if you really, really want to take a look at an RNG, the ones you want are the cryptographic ones, but they're far too expensive right now for that.
So let me ask you this. This is like a big question of mine, okay?
Sure.
So if you have an RNG on Bubble Crafts, how do you know? I mean, you could lose a ton of money if that's true, right? If you have the right system, you get a triple Lux, and the guy shoots for 80 rolls. Holy crap, you're gonna go bankrupt.
It's still random. It's still random to a point where the randomness. Here's the thing: is those RNGs can be figured out by a computer. By a human, no. By a computer, they could be figured out.
So I could bring my laptop and work
that
over
would be
the
cheating
Bubble Crafts
because
game.
now you have a device.
That's
right?
okay. I got it on my watch now. It's I got
still
the
a device.
Yeah, that
still
is
a device.
Yeah.
So again, these RNGs are approved by the regulators to be acceptable for the gaming purposes.
I was stunned when he told us it was RNG. I really was, because I thought for sure that my experience so far at Bubble Crafts has not been all that positive. And, the limits are kept a little bit lower, and some of the opportunities are less. You don't get paid as well, that kind of thing. And so all plays into it being more of a slot machine than an actual, rolling the dice. Because rolling the dice is random.
That's
right?
as random as it gets right there.
Unless you come here and learn from our...
Don't talk about controlled shots now.
We won't get into that topic. Mum's the word. Don't ask me about it anymore. Everybody asks me. What do you... All right.
I got a few questions.
What do you got? All right, because then we're going to get to the next
Is there a way to get off the list once you're on it?
On the excluded list?
Yes.
You can't get off the list. Once it goes through a very long appeal process. It's hard to get on the list, by the way. And you can appeal it to the it takes years in some cases with appeals, but once you're on it, you can't get off.
I have never seen anybody get off the excluded list. The only way to get off it is through death. That's it. Other than that, you're gonna once you're on, you're on. But here's the thing, though: in order to get on the excluded list, you really have to be bad to get on that list.
Yeah,
I mean, they're just not going to put anybody on there. It goes through a full process. The Gaming Commission actually goes through, and they'll say yes or no. But to put somebody on there, it's got to be egregious.
Yeah, it takes a while. You basically got to be a gangster, caught in the act of shooting someone in the head, and stealing money, or hauling slot machines out. I mean, it's not easy to get on that list, because even if you're a convicted felon, in some cases, it's not enough to be blacklisted completely. You're just a convicted felon. You won't have anything to do with casinos, or they won't have anything to do with you.
Yep.
By the way, that's not even always true. I used to work with a guy that got out of jail for manslaughter, 10 years, served 10 years for manslaughter. By the way, that story, I'll share it. One of these days, I'm going to get all my rough stories that I can't share on this onto Patreon. And we'll have those. But they ended up, he was in an altercation with somebody at a casino, and they passed away, and so he was convicted felon. And he was back on the floor once he got out of jail.
Wow.
I mean, that didn't, because it was no financial crime. So they focused on financial crimes to exclude you from a casino floor.
Yep.
If you kill a few people, it's not the biggest thing. You know what I mean?
Financial is more important.
Financial crimes, that's the thing. That's what they want you for. All right.
There's a bunch more questions, but I'll ask this one and then I'll save the rest for later.
Okay, yeah,
Sure.
we'll have plenty.
This is really interesting. How do you guys go about busting someone underage gambling? Do you just
Oh.
escort them off the property, or is it a matter of taking more seriously?
It is taken more seriously. That's a great question. So what happens in this case is if somebody is underage, we detain them. We detain them, and we will call the Gaming Control Board. The Gaming Control Board may or may not arrest them. So it really is up to gaming what happens. But oftentimes, if gaming says that they're not going to do anything with it, we will trespass them from the property.
So here, I'm going to add a little flavor to that. So that's what a big strip casino will do, but there's also a lot of the off-strip casinos. They typically will just have you exit the building. In fact, in many cases, if you show them a fake ID, they're going to keep your ID. So they don't have to give it back. So if you come in and you show them a fake ID, they'll literally keep it. They're not going to give you the ID. That's actually happened. I also know that if you try to play a slot machine and somehow you're able to play it and get away with it a little bit and to ticket in, ticket out, it's made it a little easier. Back in the day, of course, a lot of young people would stop by and put quarters in and try to win something. Well, I know someone who hit a slot machine at the Tropicana, a jackpot, was only 20 at the time. And they went far and wide. So here's what happens. If you hit a jackpot at a casino and you don't have ID, and I mean a taxable jackpot, $1,200 or more, right? They will give you an opportunity to get your ID. They won't automatically exclude you. So this person happened to be 20, factually 20, but claimed that they were above age, right? And by the way, you're on camera for having hit that machine. So they know they're only going to pay you. You can't show up with your mother.
Correct.
Or you can't
Correct.
offer to give the guy next to you
Yep.
the jackpot. That's not going to be a thing.
Yep.
They will literally go to the camera and see who is sitting on the machine and
At the
pressing the
time,
button
for
at
sure.
the exact time.
Yep.
There's even been a lawsuit, by the way, against a casino operator. I won't go into all the details, where a gentleman gave the money to a woman, and the woman was pressing the button. She hit a jackpot. She won that jackpot, even though the guy tried to claim it was his money. It doesn't matter. Whoever is in the seat, press the button. That's the person responsible
That is
for
correct.
collecting that money.
That is correct.
So this 20-year-old, this happened to me a while back. And by the way, I hate to say it, but this is when I was my DGen days. Let me just say. So he wins $5,000. It's on a sevens machine. It's on a sevens bonus machine. It's 5,000 flat. It's all red sevens. It was a 3-reel machine, and it was dollars. Anyway, so it's $5,000. It's at the Tropicana, and where he knows where he can get a fake ID. So they detained him. He didn't have his ID, but they let him go. And they're like, "Well, come back with your proof of your age," and they gave him a week. Now, I'm not sure what the stipulation is, but I do know that casinos will give you some time to get your ID. I've actually hit a jackpot at a local casino. Amazingly, I didn't have usually have my ID, but I didn't have and they let me go home, and I actually came back the very next day. I called over there, asked if it was okay not to come right back, and they're like, "Yeah, no worries, as long as you come back within."
Sure.
So, but this person went all the way to Kansas, paid some dude to not only to get him a fake ID, but to write up a birth certificate, do this whole thing.
Wow, went all the way all out.
All out, literally all out. He got back to the casino. This, by the way, took place at the Tropicana. I could say that because it was completely different management back then. So I knew this, okay? My wife at the time, we both knew this guy. And it was so we were living in Garden City, Kansas. So if you guys know Garden City, back in the day, it was Montfort Packing Company was like the main employer, where you had to go in and sort of sign off on your fingers, because you're almost guaranteed to lose a finger here and there. So they had you sign a disclaimer saying the first fingers were 3,000, the second fingers were 6,000. This actually happened. And he was like, "Listen, it was either Montfort or go back and try to get that 5,000, because 5,000 is a lot of money back,
Yeah, sure.
especially Garden City. You can live off that probably a couple of years, kind of thing, So he goes back with all this documentation at Tropicana, and he's sweating bullets before he even gets there. We're literally in the parking lot with him. I'm not going in. I could care less. I told him, "Dude, this is not a good idea. These guys, they got." The mob or whatever. You heard the stories, especially in the 90s. That still had some influence. You didn't know. And he's sweating bullets. He's sitting out there outside, and he's like trying to get up the nerve to go in there. And he's like, "I gotta go in there. What's the worst they can do, dude? The worst they could do is beat the crap out of you, and deposit you to some backyard alley. I mean, what do you mean the worst they can do? It's a casino, dude. They're not letting go of their money. It's not." He's like, "Yeah, but they're business. They have to." I'm like, "Dude, they got some business. The business is gonna be your butt on the ground." So he finally works up the nerve. He's a real skinny little dude, but he anyways. So he goes in there, and We don't see him coming out. It's like literally like an hour and a half later, 2 hours later, like he still hasn't come out. Next thing you know, we're parked the Tropicana, that open parking lot. The cops come and pull up right on the curb, and we know 100% that they're there for him.
That was it.
That was it. And so of course they escort him out. He gets arrested because he's trying to use false IDs, trying to collect this jackpot. I mean, they didn't beat him up. That was a little, obviously, but they had him arrested. He got hauled out. He was actually in detention for a week or so, and then they finally let him go. And that was the last I ever saw of him, ever knew him. But for 100%, he never collected that jackpot, obviously.
Yeah, no.
But that's not a thing. It's hard to get over. Plus now they have the on the back of their ID, they put it in that swiper thing to validate that it's real.
There is technology out there where you put the ID in there. It's called Veridox. They put it in there, and it will tell you whether or not it's a valid ID or not.
Yeah, especially now with the real ID technology. That's always a thing too.
Yep.
Anyways, there's my short story to that.
Really quickly, there's a reminder for everyone. There is a giveaway.
There is a giveaway. 100 likes, $1 billion bill. What's going on?
Well, not everyone was here when we first started, so just reminding people.
We're giving away this $1 billion because we're introducing our new ShopCasinoQuest.com website that Sticky has been hard at work at. So we have these gold bills. They're fantastic. They're plastic with gold foil, not paper with gold. There's another version of these out there that aren't as nice. These are thick, heavy, durable, and waterproof. And so we thought they're pretty cool. We sell them here for $5. And then the frames are extra. Believe it or not, the frames aren't cheap now because everything's going up.
Yeah.
They come from China, so it costs $10,000 to get them here, and then you got to wait in the port for like 2 weeks. What else do we got? Anything else? Oh, and just so you know, we're still raising money for Sticky's birthday party. We're gonna have a massive event, and then if you look on here, we're taking a quick segue, but we have this collectible thing. It's going to go to our legal fund. We're raising money for our collectible chip set. We were going to figure out a way to auction these off today, but we can't figure out how YouTube does that, so I don't know. It's not a thing. All right. We got... Who's out there? Anybody? Hello?
Well, we have tons of questions.
Really?
We have 290 people watching.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Okay.
All right, so we want to get to... we want to move on to monitoring the games specifically, okay? So I'm going to start with where my knowledge left off about 15 years ago when I was involved in opening of casinos. And I know that like all the games are monitored very directly, right? So surveillance can monitor them. And the pit bosses in many cases will have cameras in their office that they can switch to so they can know what sort of action is ongoing. There's a shift boss office and not so much to be their real intent is to look at sort of who the high rollers are, what the in and out is. They're not looking for those specific surveillance details. They're not doing like surveillance watches.
Correct.
But like a craps game back in the day would have 2 cameras that split the game. There was one over second base and one over third base, which is why a lot of casinos would have you split the dice. So when you brought the dice in the middle, you would have one die on one side for one camera and the other die on the other side for the other camera. And then so that way if you turn bottoms up, you know what I mean, they had 2 different perspectives. Now obviously cameras have improved, and like you were talking about, you have cameras on that can look at those chips, that can really zero in
for sure
and get those details you couldn't get before. So there used to be it was X number of blackjack tables equaled X number of overhead cameras, and then you had dice games, X number of cameras. But what is the active monitoring of the games? Like there's not a person to watch every table.
You don't have a person per table, but the thing is when you go into a surveillance room, you've got monitors up all over, and you might have one person monitoring multiple games.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we try to monitor as many games as possible. Obviously, the ones with larger action, you're gonna have more close eyes on. But that doesn't mean that the ones with lower action is not monitored, because those are still monitored. Everything is monitored. So again, you'll have one agent looking at multiple games, and each game has different shots on them. To your point, every single game would have an overhead fixed shot. So that'll never go away.
Yep.
Plus, you're going to have the PTZs. That's a pan, tilt, zoom. That's what PTZ stands for. That would be zoomed in on the games for bet shots and so forth, right? So the whole thing is all of this footage is recorded. So let's say, for example, you won a bunch of money. Now we have to run you down and put you into the software program to see if you're counting cards.
Right.
I need to have good bet shots. I need to have a good overhead. I need to have all this information ready to go. So it's so important when you set up your cameras and set up your shots that they are on the table properly. Everything is zoomed in properly. When you come on your shift, you're taking a look, making sure, okay, are all my shots there? Oh, this one here needs to be moved over here. Make sure all your shots are there. A lot of these cameras, you have shot 1, shot 2, shot 3. What that means is if I go shot 1, it goes zzz, here, and then shot 2 is over here. So you have different set shots on the cameras, right? But all the cameras are going to have an overhead shot in all the games.
All right. So when it comes to monitoring customers playing, I know that especially if you color up a lot of checks, there's usually a protocol where if depending on the color. So I've worked at casinos where you got the purple or black even in some places. You had to call it into the cage, and you would alert. We have this customer walking with 10 black, or part of that is to kind of keep table inventory and monitor sort of the ins and outs of the game. The other was to just sort of assign those checks to that player. Before they had a lot of the player tracking software. Now you just put the player in and out X amount of dollars, and you can reference that, of course. But back in the day, that wasn't a thing. So you had to know who was walking with black, who was walking with purple, so that when they showed up at the cage, it wasn't, the cage was directed. You weren't cashing people out unless you knew that was the person who cashed out that money. I know when we worked on the boat, the cage would literally call and say, listen, I have a guy, because we would get so busy, we couldn't call in all of our exiting customers. And so the cage would call into the pit and said he was playing at pit 3, he's out 1,500, I got 3 purple, and we would give them the all clear basically to go ahead and do that. And that was to stop people. We were so packed on the boat. And there were rail thieves, and that was sort of to mitigate that.
Well, to your point, though, now we have the rating system. So let's say, for example, you came up to my game and you won $20,000, and you walk with 4 $5,000 checks, right? When I put it into the system, David is in 10,000, out 20,000, and then you go to the cage, right?
Happily.
And you cash out that 20,000. They go into your ratings. Sir, do you have a player's card with us? Oh, sure. Here's a player's card.
Coupon.
Now they swipe the player's card. They say, "Yep, he walked with 20,000."
Fantastic.
Right? So that's how they're going to monitor it that way. But from a surveillance perspective, you're always scanning the floor too. Let me see. Do I see any familiar faces? Because there's some people out there, right, that we don't want playing. They could be advantage players, right? So you're going to scan and see, is there anybody out there that is that shouldn't be here? Or some $1,000 action, $5,000 action. Who is this player? Before we take a look at the play, let's see if we can identify this person, right? This is suspicious. Somebody comes up, they're playing $1,000 a hand, no player's card. That's suspicious. Because now, would you like to be rated? No, I don't want to be rated. I'm going to bet $1,000 a hand, but I don't want to be rated. When you're betting $1,000 a hand, you want to be rated, right?
Unless it's something else.
Now, the reason why they don't want to be rated is
because I want a free room and a massage.
Exactly. But here's the thing. If I come up and I'm an advantage player, or I'm somebody who should not be in the casino,
that's it.
I'm not giving you my card.
I don't want to give my name yet.
So that's suspicious right there. You go around that casino and you take a look at people playing high action, not rated, that's a red flag.
Yeah, wow, that's great. Who do we have? We have some questions? I know we're going to have a ton of questions. I knew that was going to open.
We got some super chats, by the way.
Ooh, super chats. So those are even better.
We got a $20 super chat from Daniel. Says, give me a look at this nip rings, Daddy David.
Listen, buddy. Which ones?
Your nip rings.
My nip rings? Oh, this shirt? You love this shirt? I love this shirt. See, we have the best fans, dude. Listen, I tried to put the white shirt on, and it really hugs the nip rings really nicely, dude. I don't know what it is with this white shirt. But I love this shirt. It fits me nice, dude. This is by the way, I've gotten so many comments about the graphic. That's why we love this Into the AM company. It's just a bunch of fantastic graphics. The nip rings, you little bastard. Anyways, what else we got? Let's get to the serious.
Another $10 super chat. Oh. Big case, $10. Happy birthday, Dennis, for your fun.
Yes.
Back to bubble craps. Are you saying that the dice and bubble craps are controlled by RNG? I always believed those were random.
Yeah, so RNG random. It's a random number generator, believe it or not. So just so there's a basic understanding of slot machines, and if you can, a lot of people, I was under the impression that a bubble crash machine was a slot machine, was more of a slot machine. I mean, it actually falls under the slot department, by the way. Years ago, when these were first coming out, the table games department and the slot machine department, neither one of them wanted any part of this damn bubble crash machine. They just fought over how to get rid of it because it skews the numbers a little differently. People don't buy in for bubble craps what they do on a regular crap machine. You know, the win-loss is a little bit different on these types of machines. I was actually a consultant with a group that was meting out some of the, sort of departmental issues at the time, so to speak, right? But whereas a slot machine works on a curve, right? So basically a slot machine will have a payout of, let's say, 90%. And if it's $1,000 win, it'll give away $900 over time, give or take. Someone's going to win a biggie, someone's going to win less, other people will lose, most people will lose. And so, as much as I see those little dice bouncing around on the top, I always thought it was sort of rigged. But we ran into a guy who literally develops a software, and he swore to us that it's RNG, random, that uses a random number generator. And I was so impressed, I have to be. I was like, wow, that's amazing. Up until then, this was literally just recently when we were at the G2E.
Right.
So, I mean, that's fantastic. If that's true, then that's great. I know there's a lot of we have a lot of bubble crash people because it's an easy way to get to a low limit table.
Sure.
The sad thing about now is that there's not a lot of $5 games.
Right.
By the way, we're working with a casino to come up with a $5 game. You guys are going to be able to come visit us and play a $5 table everywhere throughout the property. What do we got?
Okay, well,
you're looking at me like there's something
there's
else
a
out
lot.
there.
There's a lot going on here.
No,
okay?
there's a lot of questions. I know that.
Number one, let's just say we hit the 100 likes.
Holy smokes!
So,
we got to give away $1 billion.
But before we do the giveaway, let's answer some questions before I lose them.
All right, I got some questions of myself, by the way.
I also have.
We're having a tremendous.
So apparently the members thing, they give you like a free super chat thing.
Oh, really?
So Alan Toy says donated $250 on Alex's stream for Alex's Keno fund.
Holy
Thoughts, Daddy, dude?
Yeah, no, 100%. We got to get Alex addicted to Keno, dude. Addicted to Keno. He fell asleep one day while I was winning at Keno. I couldn't believe it. I was actually winning, and he's falling asleep next to me. It made no sense, dude.
We have also another $20 super chat.
Toy. One of our favorites. Yes, what else?
$20 super chat.
$20? That's fantastic.
From Daniel again. Love the show. You guys are doing awesome.
Fantastic.
You guys should do a 30-roll roulette challenge.
Well, we have a we have, what is it? A 15
spin.
We have a 15 spin roulette challenge you can sign up for. By the way, we're adding all that. We're updating our booking system, so look forward to that. We've been so busy with a lot of things. It's been tough to hold. But the good news is we got a lot of great opportunities coming for players. So we're really trying to lower the bar, so to speak. That's our whole goal is to create access. Regular people want regular table. We can't wait until the end. $5 tables are back. $3 tables are back. You know what I mean? But we have a lot of really wonderful content coming out. You guys are gonna see. I've literally took the handcuffs off of Jet. I told Jet just to film everything. Good, bad, ugly, whatever you got, just film it and let it go because, that's what it is. You guys are going to see sort of everything that goes on, how much we're fighting to keep everything alive, keep everything productive. And you know what? Everybody doesn't like us. I mean, that's the truth. I mean, the fact is we're human beings and we got some ups and downs and we love a lot and it's not all perfect. It is what it is. All right, I have. Do we have any more questions? Because I want to get to my questions too.
We have a ton of questions.
We have a ton. What's a biggie?
So this is from Matthew. Says, why do some casinos have constant shuffler shoes? Well, why not instead just have a regular shoe? Is that to keep the game going or to stop card counting?
Both. That's a great question.
Yeah,
both, yes. So with the continuous shufflers, you can't count cards on them, okay? And with the continuous shuffler, you are getting more hands out over an hour because you don't have to stop and shuffle the cards.
Yeah, the good thing is those aren't cheap, and it's a licensed product, so there's a lot of local places that still keep. Believe it or not, active shoe on a table is a licensed product.
Yep.
You got to pay for those. You can't just, those aren't, it's not like here where we just buy them and use them, but there's no gambling and nothing at risk. If you are a casino, you got to pay to have a shoe. It's a licensed product. So there are places that still don't. They still pitch cards because if you're locals, you're looking for that anyways. You're not looking to. But on the strip, you're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see 000.
000, yep.
You're going to see continuous shufflers. And eventually they're moving to like chipless. It's amazing. Resorts World has some incredible technology. They are literally like top tier tech. And they've introduced sort of cashless tables, cashless, not cashless rooms. Imagine that, cashless rooms. I won't even go on to what I was thinking when I mentioned cashless room, because there are some things that require cash to go up to your room. The elevator fee at the Rio, but we won't get into that. But they have they've introduced like all the tech, so you can just literally on your phone get your room, check into your room, check out of your room. You can order all your food
Right from your phone.
right from your phone. By the way, this is fantastic. And let me just while we're here, because Resorts is right next door. They're a really good neighbor of ours. And we want to say they've lowered their prices. So anyone who went there when they opened and thought the price was a little high, they have gone through and lowered all their prices. And they have upgraded. So we know, just this a little periphery story. We went and had some noodles there. It wasn't like knock your sock off stuff, but they've gone and upgraded that. And it's literally like knock your socks off now. So if you haven't been recently, you need to go back and check it out.
Come down and see it. It's a beautiful property if you haven't been there.
It really
yet.
is, and they've lowered prices, and they've went back and redid some recipes. They actually took user feedback, and they reworked some things to make it more. I mean, dude, that's a great thing.
That's what it's about. You gotta listen
100%.
listen to the guest, and that's how you're successful. You gotta listen to the guest.
So it's so impressive. So what you do is you go there, right? You can scan this thing, you get this app on your phone, and whatever you can order it in the food court. Like literally, there's like 12, 15 eateries.
16 of them total.
16.
16
Okay,
total.
16 eateries, and you can pick one. You order whatever the hell you want, it'll show up at the flipping counter. It's quite stunning. I've never experienced that.
Yep.
That was a lot of fun. All right, moving on to what? Okay, so we have a question.
We have a
All
ton
right,
of questions.
Topic question.
Do casinos tell people they can't play craps because they have mastered dice throwing? Is that a thing?
No.
Okay, so
No,
let me just address this once and for all.
I've never seen
Okay.
it happen.
Here, this is coming from the Keno guy who used to be the dice guy. Okay, so I've been dealing this game for 30 years. I've worked for 13 casinos. I have literally, and as much as I love all you and I want you to come out here, and Ronnie's a fantastic coach and he loves everything. I've never seen anyone win too much money and be walked off a game on a crap table. If there's no counting cards, there are lots of systems that can be worked. The only time I've ever seen someone walked off a game is when they're taking too long to shoot, they're not handling the dice properly, or they're just plain out drunk, or they've started a fight on the game. You know,
Or you're
those types
sliding
of
the
things.
dice. You could be sliding the dice.
Or sliding
Then we're
the
not
dice.
going to let you throw the. We'll let you play. But we're not going to let you throw the dice because you're sliding them. But if you actually have air under those dice and they hit the back wall,
There's nothing
play
that a
all day
casino
long.
can do. You can play all day long. I've literally seen a guy take $1 million off a table, cash out, come back later, play again. I've honestly never seen it. I do know of some people who have come up with like their entourage and they just cause too much confusion. The casino wants to get so many rolls. They also have to be attentive to other guests. So there's a limit. There are people who and if you're a setter, you got to be able to set the dice quickly. Find your set and move the dice. There are some here in Vegas. No, most of the casinos just don't care as long as you get a roll in a reasonable amount of time, which is like 8-10 seconds, this kind of thing, and you're not throwing against the mirror. You're hitting the back wall. You're not sliding them. All these. You're not getting them too high, and the too high thing. Okay, I've had a couple people come in here been stopped for throwing them too high is because this is how it was explained to me by Director of Surveillance. This is back in the day. Things might have changed now, but if you arc the dice too high and off the table, it loses context. The cameras lose context and can't follow. But they can see them as they come back in the air, but they lose them. You follow? So if they're not just tossed, sort of as they're supposed to be. If you try flinging them too high, who's to know which dice are coming back down? I know it's just kind of silly, but this is how, it's sort of laid out. But I have yet to see it in all my years. Now,
I've never seen it either.
I have seen some incredible. I will say this: I've been introduced to the setter community recently. Really, I've known some setters over my history. And I've seen some pretty remarkable stuff. I will say that. I've seen some guys who might be from Hawaii, may or may not be from Hawaii, who have rolled some fantastic hands and that I've seen them consistently shoot well. And I'm not one that consistently shoot well. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's interesting. So just know, like, go ahead, learn to shoot well, make a lot of money on a crap table, and let me know the day that they have it on, vlog it. Let me know. I'd love to see it.
Right?
100%.
I'm with you.
But yeah, there's that. All right, what else do we got? I had some questions about the damn monitoring customers thing. But anyways, go right ahead.
Is it illegal to refuse play simply because you're winning big? Have casinos gotten away with this all the time?
Oh, I got an answer for this.
Go ahead.
You ready? Just so we're clear, casinos are private property.
That is correct.
Casino could choose not to like you because of the color you're wearing, or you know what I mean. They can make any determination they want realistically. So if you are a player, I do know of players who like to bet at a certain level, and the casino has decided that they don't want your play anymore and has opted not to entertain their action. So that's actually a thing. I know of a lot of whales. I won't say what casino specifically, but who like to pay at the $25,000 a hand level, and the casino's like, listen, we don't want to take your action anymore for whatever reason. One of the reasons might have been because he won a ton of money, and they're like, listen, we just don't want to take your action. He's like, well, how about I play at 10,000? And they're like, no, we don't want you at 10,000 either. The reason being is because he's created this entitlement at this higher level. They don't want ever to get into a situation where they can't appease this individual.
To piggyback off that, if you take a player, let's just say craps, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they're going to actually throw the dice like they should and everything like that. But they come in and they hit us for 100,000, they leave. Come back, another 100,000, they leave. Another 500,000, they leave. They're hit and run, hit and run, hit and run, hit and run.
Mm-hmm.
And all you're playing is the pastime with full odds, and you're playing the come with full odds. It's hard to beat you. It really is. It's a tough player to beat. Can we beat you? Over the long run, we can. But what happens is this: you get us for 500, you leave. You get us for another 500, you leave. We're into you for $3 million, $4 million, $7 million. At some point, we're going to say, you know what? Enough is enough. For us to get all that money back is going to take us forever. We will. It's just going to take so long to do. We might say, you know what? It's not illegal for us to say, we don't want your action anymore. But we are basically bleeding here, all right? 500,000 at a time. We're in so deep now, it's going to take so long to get that money back, right? So we'll say no more. And that happens. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have an advantage on us, because when you play that pass sign with come, the pass sign and odds with the come, right? We still have the advantage, but the advantage is very, very small. But the problem is your money management and your style of play keeps you in the game, and we just get hit every single day. We don't have the bandwidth to get the money back because you don't give us enough time to get it back. So in that case, we're done.
Isn't that? It's amazing. By the way, that equation has gotten simplified over time. By that I mean this: as casinos have diversified, added food, entertainment. I mean, there are restaurants now where in a week's time you could be out 10 grand.
Sure.
So like that 10 grand customer that used to be a big player at the casino, we just had a guy in here doing the 30-year-old challenge before. He was lamenting the fact that years ago he would come with $25,000. He was a big player. Now he comes from $20,000 and he can't even, it's hard to get a buffet coupon.
Sure.
Because they don't care. They would rather you pay. Everything is point-based. Your host doesn't have the luxury of providing, the same level of service like they used to. And casinos have sort of downsized the types of betting activity they will allow. It used to be, they look for these whales. They wanted these big scores. They're willing to take this risk. Now they could care less because they got this restaurant that's charging you $777 for a burger. Go eat that and pay us kind of thing. You follow?
Well, the other thing, too, though, David, is this. You come in, and let's say, for example, you're a big player, but you play our blackjack game, and you're playing at a complete 0.26%, right? You are playing perfect basic strategy on a shoe game, 3-2, 0.26. What are we making on you? We're making a little bit. But now you come in and say, I want my airfare, I want the my room, I want the palace, I want this, I want that. Well, at the end of the day, when you take all those expenses in there, we're coming up negative. I might say to you, you're a big player, you got millions of dollars in a credit line. You can play the game, we're not giving you anything. Right?
There was players, so back in the day, whales used to get well, they still do in some cases. We would get a rebate on their losses.
Absolutely. Yep.
They would get, their jets fueled up.
Yep.
They would get all the food, the limousine. I mean, it's tremendous. You don't see a lot of that anymore. They have definitely, in fact, we know of one major casino that used to be, really catered to a lot of the Asian clientele, who has quite literally, they went from very specific hosts to just basic casino hosts now. So they used to have executive hosts that catered specifically to the needs of these really high value customers, and they got rid of all of them. And now all they have is your basic casino host that just sort of monitors your card activity, and based on your points can, facilitates whatever you're getting, a room or, a free dinner, this kind of thing. I will tell you this, it's interesting because there's a player here in town. Everybody always asks me in dice, what's the biggest bets I've ever seen? Well, I personally have never dealt more than $10,000 on a number, okay? And that was more than the table. That was a contract player specifically. And the reason why that contract player got $10,000, because they always lost. It's not because they bet and they won. It's because they bet and they were typically, they would be in. Now, there's literally a guy that plays here in town that happened to be back in town a couple weeks ago who's able to play $50,000 a number at a certain casino. I won't say which. And the reason he's never won, he's never walked with any money, because they would never let someone like that play at that level who's literally hit them up for 10 million or 50 million.
For sure.
You follow?
For sure.
The casinos are not in the business of losing money. They take very calculated risks.
Well, and that's the thing. When you take a look at a player, you take a look at, I have a $5 million credit line. That's very attractive to a casino. We have a person with a very large credit line. But when you take a look at all of the comps that we do, all the discounts, all of the deals, and all this that goes on, if at the end of the day we're in the red, it's not worth it. I don't care. I don't care how big the credit line is. If it's not profitable, then we don't want that play.
Yeah, I mean that's been the thing. Back a long time. I always say back in the day, but like for example, the horseshoe was famous for taking these big bets.
Oh yeah.
The thing that's missed about the horseshoe is your first in had to be your last out. You can't. They wouldn't let you chase. So you hear about these $100,000, $1 million players, right? But you can start at $5. You had to start at $1 million. They'd be like, yes, but your first in is your last out. So if you want to play 20,000 a hand, that's fine. But you got to start with that. You got to come with the money, and we'll back it. Me and a friend of mine once watched this guy, and it was the biggest money I'd ever seen at the time. He was playing just thousands and $5,000 checks on this blackjack game. They had it cordoned off. It was him, like a security guard, not too cordoned off. You would think they would have moved this to a sort of a real private area, but it was this. Some of these guys love the publicity. They love to be out there. The guy. Dave Thomas wanted his own table, but out on the floor, you know what I mean, to play his $500 because it's Dave Thomas. But I was amazed at how much money, but he couldn't go below a certain amount. He had to maintain a certain bet level, and there was a point where he was up easily $1 million on the layout. I mean, it was full. My friend and I, we came back some hours later, and he was just damn near broke. I mean, he was just, and that was why they let him play this, because they knew he was a degenerate gambler. They had a good chance of getting the money back, even if he went up at some point. I'm sure they were sweating the money for a while. But like the $1 million bets you hear about, those were $1 million in, $1 million out. That was it. You couldn't start. Can you imagine being able to martingale from $5 to $1 million? The casino would never
lose.
Win.
You
never lose.
never win, right?
Yeah.
Because if you start with $5 and martingale it up and you got $1 million max,
no,
I mean we're just going to keep paying you out. Do you have? Are you willing to really double after each one? Because when you start getting up into the thousands and so forth, are you really going to actually push and make that bet? And if your pockets are deep enough, you will.
Yeah. All right. So here's all right. Anything about monitoring customers? We got to move on to the next topic. I know it's a fascinating discussion. I have to say, it's really good.
Do this quick. Okay. Alan Toy asks, what happens if two people press the same button of the slot machine as it hits a jackpot?
There's a reason why we call Alan Toy Anal Toy, because only him and Lauren come up with that question. So if two people are pressing the button at the same time, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
One is underage and one is not.
No,
underage.
if they're both the same age, I guess they would equally split it.
They would have to split it at that
probably
point,
split
I guess.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both equally. I mean. He is called Anal Toy, dude, just so you know. Yeah, go ahead. What else you got?
If someone puts money in a slot machine and leaves a little bit amount of credits, and then you put in, and then you hit for a jackpot,
you win.
What happens?
You win. Yep.
You do win.
I've been on a Keno machine, by the way. I've had someone leave credits on a Keno machine, and they've been far gone. They left that money. You sat there, put money in, and win. I mean, you win. Yeah. There's not a lot of debate. I suppose that person, they wouldn't even have known.
Right, they're already gone.
They're already gone. They're out of the place. I mean, you know what I do? To me, that money is good luck. Yesterday, there was 17 cents on this machine. I sat down. I cashed that bitch out, and I gave it to the the attendant. I was like, here you go, buddy. Off to a good start. Just 17 cents.
Well, we better do this giveaway eventually.
We're going to do the giveaway? All right, here goes $1 billion. All right, so let's do, so today, what's going to be the term? Because they got to fire. Are you going to lose all the questions? Well, I'm gonna ask my questions, Mark, while we're doing.
Yeah, do the giveaway. That's fine.
Let's do the giveaway. We're gonna give away this $1 billion. Not an actual $1 billion. Please, for the love of God, don't sue me for $1 billion. It's a bill. It's a fake ass novelty bill, but it's plated in 24 karat gold. It's very nice, and I like it. We had a guy come in here and he's like, "Yep, this is the only $1 billion I'll ever have."
I love it.
It's fantastic. You could be your own Elon Musk. All you need is 200 more of these, and you guys will get shared. All right. What are we gonna use? What's the word? What's the phrase of the day?
The word is actually 4 words, but it's hyphenated.
Hyphenated 4 words. Oh my God, they're gonna have to work for this one, buddy. Well, it is $1 billion. You know what I mean?
Ready?
Go.
Eye in the sky.
Eye in the sky.
Hyphenated.
Oof. Hyphenated. I hyphenated in hyphenated. That's a lot of work, dude. I'm out. I'm out. That's too much work for me. Yeah.
Eye in the sky.
I'm too lazy.
Everyone's already
That's the theme
typing
of
$1
the day.
billion, by the way.
Huh?
Everyone's already typing $1 billion.
Yeah,
by
let's
the
do
way.
$1 billion. Let's do $1 billion.
Billion, do $1 billion.
No one wants to do eye of the sky. $1 billion, go. Spam it up, buddy. Spam it. All right, so then we're gonna. All right, so I have a few I had a few strange questions. First of all, why the hell we only have 1 donation to Sticky's party? What's going on with this? We're supposed to have an epic party, and anyway, Sticky's gonna be stuck playing Keno, dude. If you guys don't get moving, he's gonna be on a Keno machine chasing. We're gonna play a $5 Keno machine for the big fat bucks. Is there a $5 Keno machine? Yeah, I'm sure. Resort probably has one.
Just play paper Keno. You'll be there all day.
Oh, no. Paper Keno is a slow. Listen, when I get to a certain age, which then I'm going to be in the lounge playing paper Keno. I'll pass the whole day away at that time. Okay. So here's an interesting question. So, obviously, the customers are monitored while they're in the casino for the most part. There's not what do I want to say? So if you're a bigger player, you don't necessarily have more eyes on you. In many cases, it could be other players. It's not if you're a bigger player, you already have pit managers watching you, dealers are watching you.
Surveillance is also watching too. They're still watching, right? Surveillance is watching everybody. But yes, if you're a big player, we're gonna have eyes on you.
Yeah, I mean, you're just gonna follow me all around the casino if I have.
I'm not gonna follow you all the way around the casino, but when you're playing,
Yeah.
we will definitely be monitoring that.
Yeah, interesting. Well, we're gonna get to the supervisor part of it on the floor part of it here in a second. But okay, what do we got? We got to do stop.
Yep, whenever you guys are ready.
All right, I'll do the stop and you call the number. Oh, you do the stop and I'll call the number. Go.
Okay, ready? Stop.
Okay, 1 through 20.
1 to 11.
11.
If it's Alan Toy, it can't be Alan Toy. Okay, or Derek, or Snapper. They've all won.
Brian, you are the winner. I will put it in the chat so you know you
Brian.
have won.
Brian wins. Fantastic.
Hey,
Very
but
good, Brian.
it's
Congratulations.
spelled differently. It's Bryan.
Okay.
Well, that's not different. That's how it's spelled. What the hell are you talking about? Oh,
No, there's no I.
Oh, no, well, it's Brian, my God. Congratulations, sir. $1 billion. There you go. That promotes our little money offering. ShopCasinoQuest.com. Yeah, we got to pay some bills. Okay, back to this very interesting topic. I love that we're having this topic because it's one of those areas that's not dealt with a lot, right?
Yep.
And I think there's a lot of confusion as to. Here's a question. I'm on the street. I'm outside the casino, and I see a $5,000 chip. Now, all the 5,000s, above a certain amount, they have RFID in them. They're all tracked, right?
Yep.
I pick it up off the street, and I try to go to the casino. I'm like, oh, look at this, $5,000 chip. I'm going to go in and redeem it at the casino cage. Can I do it?
No.
No.
They're going to ask you where you got it.
Yep.
And if it's not yours, if you didn't actually earn it through gambling, we're not going to cash it out for you.
By the way, I asked, I sort of knew the answer because they're tagged. They know who that chip belongs to, who had that chip last. It's all tagged. We actually had a situation. It was the weirdest thing. I'm at a casino. A guy comes in with just $1,000, maybe a $5,000. Might have been $1,000, $5,000. Anyways, he brings it to the cage, and so here's the thing with chips that are from a different casino. It on the lower denominations, some like MGM properties, they know that that chip you could bring it in 5, 1, and sometimes you can redeem it right on the table. They'll honor those chips, or the dealer will tell you got to go to the cage, and the cage will verify the chip, and they'll give you the money for it. On the higher denomination checks, at certain points, now some of them even at 100 now, they're chipped. You know, they know who had them last potentially, especially the higher limit ones. They know who had those last, and now, those high-limit chips, so this was an unrelated casino, out-of-network casino. So this is a local casino versus where this chip was actually cashed out. If you're a high roller, they will actually call over.
They will call that casino and ask, does this, I have a $5,000 chip from David.
Yep.
They'll say yes or no to it.
And they might, because they don't want to, burden you. They're happy to have your business.
Right.
So so the casinos will say, listen, he just cashed out, so that's his $5,000 chip. Go ahead and give him $5,000, and then the casino can carry over the chip later and have it redeemed. It's just all the normal flow of things when you're a high roller, right?
Yep.
So this is literally a high roller, a guy that was known to bet a couple $1,000s at the casino comes in with this chip. And at first he tried to redeem it on the table. We're like, dude, you can't redeem it on the table. You got to go to the cage. He goes to the cage, and they find it that he's part of an investigation for having been, possibly taken it out of someone's rail. But the whole story was this whole story about how this guy gave it to him. He found it on the floor. I mean,
they always have a convincing story for sure. They have that
and they detained him, guy.
Sure.
He was 86 in the prop. They detained him. The casino didn't actually press charges, and the guy they just kept the chip, and they just washed their hands of the whole thing. You follow?
Sure.
But there was an opportunity. He might have gone to jail.
Yep.
Right. I mean, theft.
Yep.
But he was part of an investigation.
Sure.
So the casino, but it was kind of a weird thing, Anyways, okay, yeah. If you find a chip of that value on the ground, just hand it in. Don't try to redeem it.
Yep.
It's not going to go well for you. All right.
Really
okay.
quickly.
Go.
$20 super chat from Christopher Bird Trucking.
Wow.
Sticky's B-Day, DC bet.
Christopher Bird Trucking, the DC, what?
Yeah, he wants me to bet it on the DC.
He wants you not to come, basically, on your birthday.
Well,
makes no sense.
I don't know. That makes no sense. I was about to say that.
Yeah, that makes no sense. You don't come on your birthday. I got it. Okay. Well, hey, you know what? If you want to, don't come on your birthday. That's up to you. Okay. Yeah. Now you have $20 to see that through. We're a degenerate channel, dude. It's amazing that we're still around. I'll be honest with you. I'm always shocked when people come in and they're like, anyways, all right, what else you got? You got any more? By the way, we love Christopher. What else you got?
Keep going. Keep talking.
All right, let's go to, here's an interesting thing. The next topic is interesting. I've had a lot of issues with this one. So surveillance actually watches employees too.
They do. They watch everything.
They watch everything. Surveillance is onto the employees. Okay, so that happens a lot. I've been called down on a few times for the most ridiculous things, by the way. The great thing for me is surveillance typically do not know craps all that well. They focus on all the bigger intrinsic things. And a lot of them know. So we've actually trained a few surveillance people at the school. Mm-hmm. We don't share that information with anyone else. We know they're from surveillance, and they sit quietly. Mm-hmm. And as far as everyone's concerned, they're just training to be a dealer. Mm-hmm. And the number one course they go through is craps.
Sure.
A lot of surveillance just don't know craps.
And it's the hardest game to watch. Even if you know the game,
right.
Because I can't hear what's going on in the game, you have to try to make sense of what does that bet look like. Mm-hmm. Did they just toss it in and it should have been booked? Mm-hmm. Or was it a self-service bet that they actually placed? Like, for example, if somebody were to toss a bet in and it were to land in the cum, that might be a place bet. But I don't know that because I didn't hear it. But if somebody takes a bet and they actually place it on the pass line, you can tell the difference between a self-service bet versus a non-self-service bet, right? So you really have to understand the game quite intimately in order to figure out what you're watching. It is tough to watch.
No, there's no doubt. It's a very verbal game.
Yep.
You take cues verbally, even though there's no call bets. Yep. And there's a misunderstanding that a lot of players have between call bets and just sort of calling out your bet while you're on the game. So a call bet, and the reason why tables have no call bets is if you don't have money or chips in the rail, if you don't have cash or chips, you can't just call out a bet. You have to have something that will be redeemed quickly. In fact, now, it's no cash. So there were casinos that still use cash. But yes, you can't be walking by the game and yell out, $10, 12, and pray it hit. If it didn't hit, you just kept walking, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that they were trying to. Go ahead. You were going to say something.
Yeah, and great point. I had a player come up one time. I was on base, dead end. Point was 8. Player comes up, no cash, no chips, no nothing. Right? I want a $100 9, no bet. Next roll had to be a 9.
No.
I want that. Here's the $100.
Yeah, no, that's not how it works. So you have to have chips in the rail. You used to be able to have cash if you had cash in hand, but now it's really just chips in the rail. You got to have chips in the rail. You got to be prepared to sort of honor that bet right away. Okay, the dealer needs to bet. And again, it's a very verbal game. It's hard. So part of game protection is I teach everyone it's got to be the bet, the amount, and the position.
Correct.
And ideally, you need a stick player. You need a second person to sort of, help you book the bet, especially if it's prop bets, of course, because we know some casinos have been taking advantage of prop bets where everyone's in cahoots, right? So this is where, sometimes surveillance goes above and beyond when it comes to watching table, especially with craps, because they'll call down. And I was a pit manager at the Bell, and it was amazing. That was the first time I got sort of the bird's eye view of how surveillance interacts. Because they would call me and ask me questions all the time. They would literally call the pit and they would be like, this person has this much. They were verifying sort of the interactions that the dealer was having.
Sure.
And it was kind of a stunning update too, because I didn't know that level of interaction was ever a thing. When we opened up the Bell, it was $25 tables, and I had all break-in dealers.
Oh, wow.
I had five tables. There were 25. We might have had a $10 table here and there, but it was all break-ins.
Wow.
Because 90% of all the employees on every boat had to be locally trained, right? That was the deal with Louisiana. And oh my God, I was running around having to cut in. I mean, these were, and in many cases, many of these dealers, we had trouble at first ramping up all the people that needed to be hired. So we only sort of the last minute in the last month or so did we get enough people in to train to be crap dealers.
Sure.
I had to convince a few people and sort of beg a few people, dude, you really want to learn craps. It's so much fun, because people are so intimidated.
Yeah.
They're like, no, I'm sticking with Blackjack. Or, we had Let It Ride. We opened with Let It Ride. We had Pai Gow, the easier stuff. But I was always amazed at all the interactivity. Like, I had no idea prior to that job that surveillance was that engaged, and especially with this kinds of betting activity that we only had double odds, thankfully. Holy crap! Imagine if we had 10 times odds on those tables, and there were fairly low limits, so that made it a little easier too. But so all the employees are watched. So even break rooms and the hallways, all the access points, everything is watched.
Yes.
Yeah, no one trusts anybody at the casino. It's just too much money.
And oftentimes, it's the ones that you think you trust that turn out that that's not the case. Unfortunately, it is unfortunate that it turns out that way sometimes. But we have to watch everything. Everything has to be on the up and up. I got so many stories. By the way, I mean, I know that the Wynn went through a thing, and Steve Wynn went back and fired everybody visually. Anyone who had anything to do with this whole period of theft. He went back on the cameras and looked to see if anybody, because he felt like everyone should have played a role in stopping that, or should have had a heads up. I can't even imagine what the Bellagio must have done, because I know with that experience again, there was hopping bets. They took advantage of the hopping bets. Yep. And think about it, especially if you don't have a boxman, or you have a boxman that you're paying off. Yeah. It's so easy. If you have a game, back in the day, Mirage is a great example. The Mirage used to have, I love their tables, by the way. I have an old layout of theirs from the mid-'90s. And they used to have these little palm trees. So it used to be, the dice game on both sides. And they didn't have, like nowadays, they have boxes laid out so that when someone takes a hopping bet, it's on the layout.
It says,
exactly
if you want 5-3 hopping, your $5 goes on 5-3 hopping. You follow?
Instead of the trees.
Instead of the trees, they used to have these little palm trees that they. I don't know how many of them they have, but it was really just a boxman who would put his finger on it and go, yeah, that's 5-3 hopping. Again, more verbal, nothing to vision, nothing
for what it was.
Cameras, no idea.
Yep.
And now I don't know what the Bellagio had, but I'm guessing they've upgraded their layout since then to make it more clear. Because now almost every casino I know of uses these, has the boxes now.
But even then, with the boxes, here's what happens, though, Dave. Right?
Yeah.
I throw in. Oh,
yeah. Go ahead. No. Yeah.
I'm gonna throw in a bet. I mumble something, and it lands in the cum. Now, after it hits, I take that bet and I
put it wherever.
Put it wherever it goes.
100%. Right? So that goes to the thing about having a boxman. We won't get into that whole. We can have a whole podcast on the boxman.
We could.
Because a lot of our people that we have a big craft following. Thank you, geez, and a big Keno following now. Thank you. But that could be its own discussion about the lack of a boxman. I like boxman. I do. Boxman, box person.
It adds protection to the game.
Unless you're a crotchety old bastard sitting box, then you need to go. But outside of that, I think a boxman is really helpful to locking down the game, having someone that the players can talk to directly. That's not necessarily making the deal as an adversary. Keeps the pace of the game. Look at all the nonsense. A lot of us crap players, right? We hate when there's a complete lack of etiquette. The box people can sort of lock down some etiquette on the game.
Sure.
I've had some incredible box people in my experience who really added to sort of the game and the enjoyment, made things much more fun, put everybody in a lighter mood. I mean, you know what I mean? Then, of course, I've had some crotchety old bastards like sitting box. And those guys, they need to get along and retire. But anyways, all right. So the next thing, we were sort of talking about that. The next topic I have is the pit calls. So the pit will call to surveillance. That's a thing. So, supervisors are trained to pick up on things and call whenever something is amiss for whatever reason. And it used to be the use of, cell phones. If you saw somebody, this is one of the very first lessons I had, was if you saw someone with tech, you needed to call that in. You didn't need to deal with the person yourself, but surveillance needed to start watching, or you saw somebody with a big jacket in the summer, and you know what I mean? Because people try to take advantage of the game. Nowadays, everybody has tech everywhere. That wouldn't even be alert. All right, see you guys. Thank you. Right?
Right. Well, basically, when the pit calls up to surveillance, you have to think about this, right? Say, for example, there was a dispute on the game. The customer says this, the dealer says that, so on and so forth. When you call surveillance, you have to start right from the very beginning, and you need to be very descriptive. Because when I pick up that phone, hello, surveillance, and you say, this person is disputing this. Okay, what pit? Which table? Which position? Which player are we talking about? How much are we talking about? Give them as much information as possible. Basically, your name, who's calling it in, the table, the pit, the player position, the player account number if they have one, right? And then exactly what happened. This person, I think, had a $50 bet. And the more information you give, the better, because that will aid the investigation. They will back up the camera, because I have to know where to look, right? And I have to have all that information before I start the investigation. So if you're ever in the pit, if you're ever a supervisor, before you call the surveillance, gather all the information: player name, player account number, spot, table, everything, and then you can make that call. Because oftentimes, when the pit calls up, there's a list of questions: where, which spot, and all this here. If you have all that already prepared, it makes that call much, much easier.
I know that that's usually the first thing that's done as well. So if you have a dispute with the player, especially if it involves money or a bet, the first thing you'll do, unless it's something that can be clarified easy, if it's a card down that can be corrected, if it's the dealer didn't draw a whole card, whatever the case, some of those things, there's some default procedures that you don't have to call up for. But if it's something where it's the hand has been dealt, it's the next or previous hand, you'd have to call surveillance, kind of run the camera back, see where that was at. Those kinds of disputes, the first thing a supervisor will do or should do, if you're a floor supervisor, you refer that to probably your pit manager or someone else, right? Because you're busy watching the game. Then they'll call it up running back. And sometimes you won't get an answer right away. It might take a minute.
It does take a while.
And then so you'll come back, because I've had situations, I've had a guy, say, the most stunning thing I've ever had called up was I'm on a crap table with fire bets, right? A 6-point fire bet hits. The guy says, no, it already hit. We already hit the fire bet on a previous roll. And we're like, no, it just now hit. Fire bet had just hit. And he's like, no. Oh, no, wait. It was 7 out before. That's what happened. It was 7 out before the 6th fire bet hit. And so when the fire bet hits, you got to call up the surveillance. Surveillance has to roll back the camera for every point that was rolled.
It takes a while to review.
It takes a minute, because if you have anybody, now if nobody's on the fire bet, it doesn't matter. But if you have, back in the casino I was working at, it paid 1,000 to 1 for 6 points.
Sure.
Okay. So it paid 1,000 to 1, $2, $2,000. You had to fill out the paper. But this guy, so we get 5 fire points and then 7 out. So we still have to pay the fire bets, right? Because it paid out to 4 and 5.
4 plus, yeah.
There was a Fiesta Rancho, by the way, used to pay at 3.
Oh wow.
7 to 1 at 3, and then they had half the payout at 6, obviously. So anyway, so here it is, the 7 out, and the guy says, and we have a boxman on the game, and 3 dealers and a box person. I was on third base, and the guy's like, no, we already hit 6 points. That last point was a 6 point. I've just been waiting. I thought you guys were, he didn't know what the procedure was, and we're like, no, sir, it's 5 points, 7 out, we're done, and we're all 3 dealers and the box person agree, okay? But this guy would not let it go. He was like, he was convinced. Now, everybody else at the table is just happy to get paid on the 5 point because it still paid like 300 or something, whatever it was.
Yep.
And, or 260 something, I think. Anyways, they call it up to surveillance. And I'm thinking, another crazy guy trying to take a shot. Surveillance calls back and goes, you guys hit a 6 point fire bet.
Really?
So what happened was I had come around base and the previous dealer had forgot to mark the point.
Oh, yeah.
And so the other dealer corrected the point to the mismarked point. We literally had already made a previous point, but the puck had been moved because the dealer, the box person, the stick had mistakenly said that, no, this was the point. You follow?
I got you.
Even though the point was incorrectly marked, they had agreed that was a thing. And it was a complete. We had basically had to shut down the game. The game for like the next 30 minutes went to this whole. There was one person who had already left the game, and we started paying out the other fire bet, and it was just absolute. I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
But those kinds of things, like that's rare though.
But it takes a while. They got to go right back to at the very beginning and go all the way through.
So fire bets. That's why a lot of casinos don't like the fire bet because they literally have to go. They have to wind back every single roll of the dice, especially if they have to pay a 6 pointer plus. Anyone that bet more than $2 on $1,000. So now what they've done is they've reduced the 6 point fire bet. They'll pay on 3 on the ones that the fire bets that are still around. They'll pay on 3 and then $2.99 on the 6 pointer.
So no taxes,
so
right?
So they don't have to do the paperwork because can you imagine you have everybody on the fire bet and now you got to do taxes. You got to go around and you got to collect.
It slows it down quite a bit.
It's 20 minutes before you can get a roll. You can't go anywhere, right?
Yep.
So all right, well, there's a lot of pit activity with surveillance. There's no doubt. There's constantly calls up, chasing down the games, asking employees. There's even I've actually even called up on employee issues, where employee has taken a break or left the game. I had an employee who disappeared from a boat and apparently just wanted to quit. Well, it's hard to quit when you're at sea.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? And so we were trying to track down when they got tapped out and where they might be on the boat.
Right.
And they were on an outer rail that wasn't monitored. They had cameras literally everywhere, but
Except
this person... Yeah, so they had these service rails that the Coast Guard could access, stuff like this, that weren't necessarily, directly under view. But anyways, so, there's all that. All right.
There's actually a really good question. Someone asked, who watches surveillance?
Who watches? That's a great question.
Good. Yeah, I know,
so actually, the director of surveillance watches surveillance.
Wow.
So there's actually cameras in the room that they are watching.
So that's the guy you got to pay if you really want to get one over. Oh, you know what I was going to ask is someone brought this up the other day about the Ocean's 11 thing, and orchestrating some type of event like this. Which, by the way, so they did the Ocean's 11 in pieces has some things that obviously take place in a casino floor, but you could have put together that kind of activity. The most common types of things that happen at a casino, by the way, are literally like smash and grabs or threat and grab, where someone literally just threatens a cage, takes money, and runs out. Yep. Because there's so many moving parts. It's so hard. I've watched that, and I've been involved in. So when we, different boats I've had, everybody was involved. Collecting the cans. Being part of the walkthrough, being a floor supervisor, where usually I was at a casino where, shift boss or not shift boss. Where either graveyard, I forget which ship, but you had to escort the cans. So they had one floor supervisor for every rack where the cans were being collected, whatever pit there was. They would have 2 security guards. Surveillance obviously is called up, taking out the rack, and these are the drop cans. Yep. You follow? And so there's so much of this. It's so hard. I just can't imagine this, the soft counts and the hard counts and the access and through points for all of these and when they do this and how they do it. All that is
so locked down.
Yeah, it's all locked
very
down.
locked down.
There's so much cash in play, dude. They take so many measures to make sure that these aren't. These guys have to wear jumpsuits. They can't. There's no pockets.
And as far as access control too, in order to get into these highly sensitive areas, surveillance actually has to let you in. So it's not like a lock and key where I can just get a key and go in. Surveillance actually has to be the one to let you in.
And you're going through like multiple, venues, and it's just. And by the way, so those tubes. So you know that downtown. The rumor was always that downtown. This used to be the first interstate bank building, which I know became a server vault because I've been in it. So many years ago in the 90s, well, many years ago, its first interstate bank, FIB building, was downtown, and that's where a lot of the casinos did their banking. And the rumor was always that they had these tubes where they were connected to. I don't know if those rumors are true to this day. I've heard so many different stories. It's not even funny. However, I've been in that vault. So it's if any of you have worked with servers and these big server farms where many of you probably haven't. I have, but with that are not necessarily top secret, but have controlled environments for moisture and all this other stuff. They have this massive vault. It's the biggest vault I've ever seen, actually, with vault sort of doors. Where now some of that might have changed, but when the FIB converted to this company that bought it, and they installed a server farm, a secure server farm, and they had a lot of the internet. And a lot of the sort of the throughput stuff that the casinos use was all the cabling and stuff was literally went through this vault, and I actually rented a little locker, my little server, and I ran my little thing, but I never got to see the tubes. I didn't know whether that was ever a thing because I think on Ocean's 11 they have it where they showed, or one of them where they showed the underground with the network of tubes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Where the money passed through. I don't think that's a thing. I've never heard of that being a thing. Have you?
No, I haven't.
No. And I was literally in that vault. I didn't see any tube. I looked for it too, by the way. I even asked the dude who was setting up the thing. He's like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know.
He might have been under wraps. Maybe he was like, he couldn't say anything. I don't know. All right, what did we got? You look
really
antsy.
quickly, Michael. Thank you for becoming a sponsor.
Thank you, sir, very much.
And someone asked, what are some crazy cheating stories you know about, Mark, or security stories in general?
Cheating security stories. How about the camera scam in Baccarat, where when they cut the cards in Baccarat, they actually had a camera underneath their sleeve, so when they cut the cards, they actually would record the order of the cards. So what would happen is I would actually take the cut card and drag it along the deck, and as I'm dragging along the deck, the camera was actually recording the order of the cards. What they would then do is load the shoe. This is a reserve game. They would go to dinner, and when they're at dinner, they would actually get the order of, is it going to be player, is it going to be banker? So that was definitely a big scam that went on. That's one that comes to mind.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
I mean, casinos have been scammed. The most common game I think that's been scammed is clearly Blackjack.
Oh yeah.
Where people have used different types of tech and have kept track of, or they've identified a weak dealers, or they changed the actual shoe. We have videos of people going by and changing the shoes.
That's why we have the chains now.
That's why you have the chains. I mean, other instruments in dice, I used to know a really good slider, man. I've come across some really good sliders. This guy was so good.
But in order to slide, though, it really does take a team, because when they're sliding, you have to turn the stick person. You have to make commotion, right? If that stick person sees that slider, they're supposed to call no roll, right? A good stick person is going to call no roll. What happens is when they slide it, hey, right? Now the stick person, what? And then it takes their eyes off the dice. Once you take your eyes off the dice, that's what happens. So a lot of this stuff is team play, too.
No, 100%. All right, well, let's get back to our little, anything else that's really mission critical, because we're coming up under investigations. That's the next one.
Okay.
We're going to talk a little bit about the investigations.
Last question is just, what is the latest slot machine scam since the Wand era, since there's no longer in existence?
The Wand era? You mean not
Wand
Keno?
era?
The which era?
Wand era?
The wand?
The wand, like Keno wands?
Yeah, the Keno wands?
The light wand.
God, I miss those Keno
These slot
wands.
machines have come a long way. There's advantage play in slot machines actually that can be done, where people will get certain bonuses. It's called bonus chasing. They'll get the bonuses to a certain amount, and other players will come in and take advantage of those bonuses. Not that it's cheating, but it is advantage play. As far as altering the machines, they're not like they were in the past, the older machines, so it's much harder to alter them. There's other scams out there where they can record the RNGs, actually seeing what the reels are stopping on. Record this information and figure out the RNGs. That's a much more advanced scam that I know the Russians were involved with that one there. But it's really, really involved, where they can actually try to figure out that RNG inside these slot machines. But that's really the latest that's out there.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, it's a lot harder.
Yeah,
it really is tough.
It is very tough.
It's there used to be a lot of different ways. I used to have a guy who ran a course on how to be an advantage video poker player, and you could track. They had these meters inside the machine that you could look for and see what the last, the monies that were paid out on the machine, and because these machines do go and they'll have to pay off at some point, right? So you could find one that was more apt to pay off. So there was one minute in Vegas where they stopped accepting $5 bills. Someone had perfected the $5 bill back in the day. Yeah. And so I forget when this was, but it was quite a while ago. You just couldn't use a $5 bill on a slot machine. Trust me, I'm a $5 player. I was back then. I was like, holy crap, I got to upgrade to $10. You know what I mean? I got to go double my bankroll here. What's going on? I was so depressed, dude. I'm like, what the hell? And then you go to Dottie's, and they also them not taking $5 bills. It was a travesty. Do you know what they're doing now? Is you want to know what the latest slot thing is now? And I don't know if I should say this, but I'm going to say it's Dottie's. It's not a major. They're major. They're big. We love Dottie's. By the way, with Dottie's Etsy's, please give me a call so I could play Keno on camera, show everybody what it's all about. I don't understand why this is an opportunity.
He really likes the U1 machines, by the way.
The U1 machines, dude. You got to have me still playing the U1 machines. I love these U1, but here's what people were doing. I shouldn't be giving anybody ideas, but here you go. Here's the best idea ever. I'm so terrible, dude. That's why, listen, I am who I am. I can't help it. The truth is the truth. It'll set you free. They've already got protocols, by the way, to stop this. But here's what's happening. When the mask mandate came into effect, people were going in with their masks and showing whatever bullshit ID they had, right? Because who knows you from your mask? Like, we have the same eyes. I'm going to put eyeglasses on, and here's my ID, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody wanted to be like, you got to take your mask off. You know what I mean? It's just like, hell yeah, that's you. I mean, you remember the days when you couldn't wear a mask in to rob the bank? Right, yeah. You know what I mean? No, you have to wear a mask. Now you can just wear, you have to wear your mask to rob your bank. You know what I mean? Like, they don't let you rob the bank without the mask now. It's mandated. It's mandated. You know what I mean? I mean, you could go right in with your mask on. I mean, I remember when the bank would have me take my sunglasses off. Now they're like, sunglasses, helmet, mask, come right in, sir. Right in, yeah. Whatever you need, we're here for you, buddy. So anyways, so people were coming to Dottie's with their masks, showing some BSID, and they would just literally sit down. One person, they were coming in teams of two. One person would distract the attendant. The other one had the key to get the slot, the stacker, the bill stacker out.
Oh, wow.
And they were just hauling bill stackers out of Dottie's one by one. Literally, they would come in, 10 minutes in and out. They had found a cabinet key, because these keys, by the way, now I'm sure they've upgraded since then. I took a key to our cabinet. I didn't even think about what was going on there until literally I took a key from one of our cabinets, because we had this cabinet, and it wasn't keyed. We had no key for it. It was just part of this nonsense that we got from this big ass truck that we unloaded. But so we have this key, and we had the lock but no key. I took it to a locksmith. He made a key for it, just like that. $25. I was able, and then I'm like, holy crap, this is how they did it. Solve number one. So anyway, he keyed this whole thing for me. Can you imagine? I'm at Dottie's. I steal one of the damn thing. I now have the keys to get the flipping bill stacker out. That's what they were doing. They were stealing, in this day and age, stealing bill stackers right out the back.
Shouldn't be happening.
They only have one clerk or two clerks. But now you have to show your face and now everybody that goes in there, they have to show their ID. So at least if you do take the bill stacker out, they can narrow it down. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, I was kind of stunned that this was a thing, but yeah, no, that's 100% a thing. Okay, still up Dotties, even though I haven't been winning lately. I'm a bit bitter about that, to be honest with you. It's been a while. Okay, so next thing is we're gonna get to the hiring part. If you're interested in a bit, wow, we've been doing this a while. You good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Good.
So floor investigation. So here's what I know. Okay, when something happens, and sometimes not everything can be resolved quickly. Sometimes it requires that surveillance, undertake an investigation, and sometimes these investigations will take a while.
Yes.
I know when I was working at a casino who can't be named, might have been the Rio, I don't remember. There was a guy who was sticking chips down his boot. It was a boxman, and every day, $100 check. He would get up to stretch. He had these long sleeves and these big boots, and everybody knew who he was. He would do so because he was palming a check, go into his thing, and it would work its way down. He would stretch here and then do a little hip movement and a little ass movement. And next thing you know, it drops into his boot and he's out with $100 every day, $100. But they had surveillance on him for a while before they finally got down and busted him, because they wanted to. You got to be sure, right? You can't just take the guy aside and say, "Listen, get naked."
It's a matter of getting all the footage all saved, zoom in, make sure. You don't want to pull an employee in and you're unsure.
Right.
You have to have the smoking gun right there to say, yes, this is you're guilty, right?
Yeah.
And without that, it's really hard to pull somebody in and accuse them unless you're 100% sure. So that's why that investigation has to be done methodically and over time.
Yeah, I know. I've heard of investigations, let's just say, where they'll send someone, they'll actually bring in outside investigators to come in, act like players, or act in many different capacities, really, you know what I mean, to try to get to the bottom, undercover, anonymously. And the casinos will go sort of out of their way to uncover things that shouldn't be happening, obviously. And I'd be honest, I think that every big casino probably has an investigation ongoing. Like, there's always stuff. If you're in MGM, for example, and you've got that much floor to cover and that much money going in and out, you probably got investigations underway.
There's always an investigation of some sort going on in surveillance.
No, 100%.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so, and that kind of gets me to, instead of, we're just kind of summing over this, but I want to get to the hiring part, because I think this is a really interesting conversation, by the way. Surveillance is short staff.
All the time.
All the time. And I say that because I know that this is an absolute fact. I've helped quite a few people get surveillance jobs in town, and I have to say, and it's here's what I will tell you. It's a great, and I'm going to be very honest, because this is the whole thing. I want, if surveillance is not the sexy, all-encompassing, on the go, it can be really tedious and really monotonous. You have to be a very detail-oriented person. You're going to start on the joystick. You're going to start monitoring stuff. You're not going to do the investigations, the anonymous stuff. You're not going to do any of the exciting stuff that people sometimes correlate with surveillance. You're going to do a lot of the real tedious stuff. It takes you a minute to get to a different level. And I know this because my friend, of course, was director of surveillance. And he talked about, keeping people awake on some shifts.
Absolutely.
And
especially graveyard, yeah.
Especially graveyard. It gets real. It's not, imagine being a dealer on a dead game and you're at least standing, looking around, watching sports. Imagine you're just on a joystick, moving cameras around, trying to look for action that doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist because nobody,
there's nobody there. It's not busy. There's no one there. So it takes a special, and not to say that it's not for you or it's not for somebody, but I have people sit down with me and go, I'd really like to be in surveillance, right? Surveillance has a great career path. I say that also because if you can get through, we have someone recently who went through, started downtown, and there's a pretty accelerated career path, because it's one of these job or career paths that are sort of under the radar a little bit. You follow? Sure. People are always unsure, how do I become a surveillance operator, or how do I get in this path? It's really not that hard. It helps to have someone sort of refer you or be aware of the jobs that are out there. But in many cases, surveillance will train you. You have to be, it's really, really useful to be a dealer.
It is.
To have casino knowledge.
I would say number one, you have to have a great attitude. You have to have patience because, to your point, you know, it does get tedious, right? But you have to have a thirst for knowledge. You have to want to learn because there's so much to learn. Okay. It would help to know all the games. It would help to know all the procedures of the games, how they're dealt. That's number one, knowing all that. But then you have to take it to the next level. Is how do you cheat the games? How is that done? How are they scammed, right?
Yeah.
So knowing the procedures is first, and then knowing the ins and outs of scamming them, knowing the ins and outs of advantage play, how to count cards. All these skills you will definitely learn, but you have to really, really get good at it.
Yeah.
And it does take a lot of work, but it is a rewarding career.
It can be here. I looked up PILB just so you know. So I'm going to add to this conversation a little bit because there are people that are in security. A lot of times security is sort of related with surveillance. There are people that in security who are either looking to make the jump to being a dealer, making the jump to being surveillance. Here's what I would tell you here in Nevada, okay? Or Nevada. I always get that wrong. I've always pronounced it wrong. They used to yell at me. What is it? All these years here. Nevada. Here's what I would tell you. Get a gun. Get a concealed carry. Go through PILB. If you're in security, they pay a lot more money if you can carry a weapon. That's number one. If you want to move over to surveillance, having a weapon will fast track you to investigations. And it's a very useful thing because not everybody can carry a gun. Everybody handles a weapon, this kind of thing. So if you're a vet out there and you're looking for something that's maybe a little grunt related, vet related, this type of thing, security, don't start security. And I mean, listen, the security can be a great job, but you're going to get paid twice the amount of money if you can carry a weapon. Yep. That's number one. Number two, if you go through the Private Investigators Licensing Board, you get your PILB, and you do that through an employer. It's not easy. And by the way, if you have questions about this, I'm very happy to help you. All you do is email us info@cegdealerschool.com, and I will run down this career path for you. I've helped quite a few vets. And for them, especially if you're 11 Bravo, you're any kind of MOS where you've been a grunt. Sorry, I don't know all the Marine grunt MOSs, but it can be. So starting with a gun, you can get paid $20 to $25 an hour. It doesn't sound like a whole heck of a lot, but if you move up in this area and you go into surveillance investigations, you can make a great living, a really good living. I know guys that make six figures. I know guys that are on reactionary teams, like SWAT teams, but in the casino that do well, six figures at the win. So there is a path there. There's a lot of different opportunities depending upon, how you want to float it or how you see yourself. So anyways, there's that. It's always a missed thing, and it's unfortunate because I think that for some people it'd be a perfect fit.
Yeah, no doubt.
Right?
Absolutely. It's a great path.
All right, so what else do we got? You got anything else, sir? Anything new in your life?
We have covered quite a bit tonight. This was an exciting discussion.
Dude,
Well,
I hope everybody liked it. Yes.
Is there an audition process for being into surveillance?
No audition. It's not like a dealer. No, you're going to go through an interview, and they're going to ask you game-related questions. They're going to ask you game protection-related questions too, to gauge your knowledge. And then from there, there's no audition like you have to deal the game or anything like that.
And then someone asked, can you still gamble if you're in surveillance?
Not at the casino you work at.
Not at the casino you work at.
And by the way, some surveillance, they will not let you gamble in the network either. You cannot be on a floor outside of your position or outside of any investigative. So, let's say you work for a casino where they own 8 casinos.
None of those casinos.
You can't work at any of those. You can't gamble at any of those casinos. It's not like being a dealer at one. So at station casinos, you can be a dealer at one, and you can go play at another. You can even play. I could play slots at the same casino. I just couldn't. I couldn't be a player on the table games. You follow? But when you're in surveillance, you come in a different door. You wear regular clothes. You're not supposed to identify. I knew a guy in surveillance at a casino. The stock answer, if anybody asked you who you work for, you had a front desk employee card.
It really is a secret department. Yeah.
It's a secret department. Usually you access a different elevator, different set of stairs. They don't want other employees to see you sort of coming and going. You won't park in the same place. A lot of times you'll just park in regular customer parking. You'll make your way in through a different door, this kind of thing, because they don't want anybody to know who you are, right? Because they don't want a dealer to get in cahoots with you or a supervisor. In many cases, I know supervisors have never seen A lot of the surveillance operators don't know their faces.
Correct.
They know their names or their call names. A lot of them don't even use their real names. They
Sometimes
call
use a
names
number.
or a number.
Yep.
And so I know a casino. When I worked at the Bell, I didn't even know where the hell they went. I
Right.
couldn't understand. Like, where
very
were they?
secretive.
Were they even on the boat? And they all used call names. There was no, they had a call sign, and there was no actual, their own real name. So it's a secretive thing.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. What else you got? A couple more questions, and then we got to go to bed and get some rest. I got a Keno machine with my name on. No, I don't. No Keno now. I'm out. I use my
Can
coupon.
regular people get certified to work security with a firearm?
Yes, 100%. If now, the caveat to being a security with a firearm is where being a table game dealer, you can't have killed it. You might have killed somebody. That's not true if you're going to go into security. It's much broader, more expansive. You got to be trustworthy and not a killer. You know what I mean? Those two things are gonna bog you down a little bit. But so yep, a regular person. You don't have to have any. You don't have to be a vet or anything like that. I will recommend you getting your concealed carry. And you being able to carry a weapon is big. And if you come with your own weapon or have an own weapon and you have firearms, just listen. Even if you're a complete, utter novice, just, and not to advocate if you're looking for this, God, it's a PC world, dude. You can't really, I'm not trying to advocate everybody go run out and buy a gun and go into surveillance. What I'm saying is you get paid a lot more.
Yep.
It's a fact.
True.
You go from, $15 an hour to like 20 something an hour, So yeah, you could be anybody. You can get a concealed carry, and casinos are hiring security constantly.
All the time.
Dude, it's one of
All
the
the
hardest
time.
jobs, the highest turnover, the hardest jobs,
Yep.
and not because people don't love that job, but because there's like so many other casinos offering a lot more money
Yep.
now to come work for you. So
Yep.
if you want to be in security, the other great thing about security, I have to say, is you'll almost never be without a job. Even during COVID, when everything else was
They
locked
had to
down,
be at the casinos to
still needed
yep.
security
Sure.
to protect all the assets and stuff.
Yep.
So, but definitely the gun adds a lot to the job, believe it or not. Unless you're nervous about guns and don't get a gun, that kind of thing. But what else you got?
Legit question: does surveillance look for scammers trying to sell systems or what not to play in the casino? Question mark.
Systems, not so much, but money management, yes. They're going to take a look at your betting styles. But as far as systems, the martingale and stuff like that, that would be basically a loss progression. We're going to definitely say that is your betting style. Are we going to back you off for a system? No. We'll back you off when you have a verifiable advantage against us, though. But yes, we will look for system play as well.
You know what? We were asked the other day about system play. We're taking advantage of the comps because we have a system where you play on roulette basically just to max out comps. It's hard to lose. You kind of break even a lot. Most casinos just don't care.
Right.
It's a point-based system. They're happy to give you a free meal. They really just don't care. A free room, all that stuff. Unless you're quite literally playing ridiculous sums of money over time and
Right.
generating free trips to Hawaii. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean? Then
yeah.
they might pay attention and you'd be like, wait a minute. But for the most part, go for it. Enjoy your stay. Play whatever system. There's no system that we've ever done or any part of education that we have that infringes on, we work with the casinos. So we have a lot of partners in the casino. So they're all meant to be fun and entertaining.
For sure.
Yep.
Last question we have so
Last
far
question.
is: do casinos test for weed?
All right, ready? I'm going to give you this straight and buzzy. You ready for this? This is going to be, well, here, I'll let you go with the answer, but I got an answer. What do you got?
As far as I know, they still do. Okay. But it's one of those things where it's now legal and so forth. We don't know what the future is going to hold. But the last time I was tested, it was in the test.
Yeah, so here's what I'll tell you. So Governor Sisolak passed a law saying that you can't be precluded for testing positive on a test for weed, right? So it was taken off. It wasn't supposed to preclude you from getting a job. However, here's the thing. Some casinos have sort of federal elements. OSHA, for example, is a federal agency, right? That oversees sort of, slip and fall hazards. A lot of casinos have, insurance policies that are underwritten under, federal guidelines and these kinds of things. So the law that was passed, and I'm not a lawyer, most casinos do not test for weed to get you hired, okay? Some, though, however, do. And the ones that do, I've actually had dealers who I've told, listen, technically, the governor, listen, this law was passed. You're not supposed to be recruited for any job unless it's a, healthcare worker, police officer, this kind of thing, but not dealer. It's not under that category. And there are some casinos that have tested for it and have said and have precluded them from hiring because they tested positive for weed. And their answer to me was basically this: I'm glad the state passed this law, but we have to abide by banking, right? Federal banks, and we're the federal agencies are in place, so we test for it, and until they tell us differently directly, that's all there is to it. So if you're a dealer, you come to the school and you learn, believe it or not, we're going to send you the casinos that we know no longer use this as a tool. Okay, so you have to be honest with us. I don't care. I literally don't care. It's the students that come and they don't tell me the truth, and then it backfires, and then I'm like, dude, all you gotta do is tell me, I'll send you. So it's kind of, there's a bit of a gray area. Now here's what I will tell you: if you're on the job and you fall, and here's an interesting scenario. Ready? We had a floor supervisor who was on the job in a pit, working under capacity, high as a kite. Okay. He smokes a little weed. It wasn't high as a kite. He's been smoking forever, so he was just doing his medical marijuana bit. Okay. Feeling good. A customer comes over and spits on him. The customer spit on this floor supervisor. And the casino, by the way, the pit knew that it was an older gentleman with lots of health issues and quite legitimately had the medical thing even before pot was legal. Okay. Maybe was recovering from, I don't know, but had some real serious issues, and so they used CBD and marijuana to help them alleviate those issues. Okay. So everyone knew he smoked weed. So the pit boss goes to him and say, listen, I got to test you for marijuana because it's OSHA requirement. It's our insurance requires us because this person has a contaminant. Are you kidding me? So I've been assaulted by this individual because they spit on me, and now you are forced to actually test me for any, and yes, so he, instead of being tested, they let him resign. And luckily this casino has a 60-day comeback. So if you resign and the investigation proves you were not at fault, you know what I mean? You have 60 days later, you can come back and work at the project. So that's what they did. They said, listen, we're gonna have to fire you if you get tested, but we'll let you resign, and then then he was a 10-year employer, 15-year. He lost all his benefits, his seniority, everything gone, dude, because someone spit on him. So if you slip and fall at work, or anything that falls under any kind of federal issues or any of their liability or insurance, you will be tested for weed, and then that becomes another. They might not be able to use it as a condition of your employment, but after the fact, at some point, they got to just let it go. Do you realize that if they went ahead right now and tested every dealer for weed, they'd have no dealers?
It's true.
They would have very few dealers, okay? I could deal. Okay, just saying. I just can say I can deal. You know what I mean? But, I know. Dude, I don't know. If you make it legal, it should be legal. I'm not to say I'm not the lawmaker, I'm not the policymaker, but, it's legal.
Right.
So how do you preclude someone from working on something that's already just legal? Yeah. It doesn't make,
that may all change down the road, though. We'll see.
No, 100%. Yeah. All right. I think that's it. We had a fantastic, did we raise any money for Sticky's birthday? By the way, it's not just Sticky, it's Jet. We do have a holiday meetup we're working on right now. We're gonna put out I'm trying to get a newsletter together with a whole bunch of stuff. We're still in the mix. John, if you're out there, we're still working on a concierge thing, buddy. I've been busy. But we have a meetup scheduled, a holiday meetup. We want to share it with all of you guys here at Casino Quest. We're actually working on a casino to host the event. So we're basically going to meet up here, shuttle over to casino, play lots of Keno, dude.
That's where it's at. That's where the money's at.
That's the answer. No, we're going to play, a lot of dice. It's fine. I'm the Keno guy now. I'm no longer Dice Master. I'm just a Keno guy. That's it. I've been delegated. Literally, yeah. Fans like, there's Alex and the Keno guy. I'm like, what the hell happened? Anyways,
this was an actual comment, by the way.
Really? Is it a good comment? Do we love it?
No. I'm saying your comment. I'm telling.
Oh no, that was a real comment. That guy was like, I wanted to say hi to Alex and the Keno guy. Yeah. Brutal. Anyways, all right, we got to go. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much.
We
Before
enjoyed
we
hanging
leave,
out.
this will be on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all the other platforms. So if you want to listen to it,
When is it going to be on there? Sometime next week? What's
Tomorrow.
going on? Oh, tomorrow? Look, tomorrow,
Nice.
buddy. All on. And we've rebranded it. It's now the CEG podcast because Mark is going to be a regular. Almost like I'm regular. But he's going to be regular too. And we can't wait. I hope you guys are really enjoying this because I think I found a perfect mix. We got Sticky, Mark, and myself. I think this is we're gonna have other guests coming on, and we're gonna talk to them. We've got some really exciting stuff in the works. So thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time, next Sunday, 5 p.m. Hope you visit our shop, CasinoQuest.com, or last bit intotheam.com/CEG Dealers. They got some bonuses, I saw they have some discounts if you're interested in this shirt or a shirt like it.
and the
you
link
wanna
is in the description.
It's in the description. There's a link if you want to be nipply like me. And by the way, thank you to that young man who told me like how fit I looked in real life. He didn't want to add how young I look too, but the fit, I'll take fit. That's a win for now. All right, thank you guys. Bye.
Have a good night.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.